Good morning and welcome into Tuesday. We are getting ready for another week in the NFL. We finish one up, another one starts. That's how it works. Along with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton, I'm Jeff Rickard. Good morning, everyone. Mark, first of all, with you, I know you didn't sleep a ton last night. Very late game. How'd it go?
Boy, you really want to twist the knife right out of the gate?
Did I say anything other than how to go, Kevin?
Well, I mean, you're asking a guy.
Yeah, as if you don't know. I mean, I'm sure you went to bed at 8 o'clock, so you probably don't know.
I'm concerned for your well-being. That's all.
No, I'm fine. I mean, the Brewers have the best record in baseball for a reason. The Cubs are without two of their best pitchers for the majority of the season. So, yeah, not great. Not great at all. But hopefully the offense wakes up and we get at least one more game. Or two. Can we push it to Game 4? I would like to have some baseball to watch until Game 4. Can we do that at least?
It'll make the comeback sweeter for you, Mark.
Sure.
It'll make it sweeter for you. The Brewers won last night over the Cubs. We'll talk about all the details coming up in a minute. Did you guys catch any of the Monday Night Football game with the Chiefs and the Jaguars in the fourth quarter? It was crazy.
Yeah, I did. I watched a ton of it. Boy, Jeff, you chose violence at 7:01 this morning there. So, quite the start for Mark Dykton here on this Tuesday
Have you
morning.
heard him not choose violence 6, 7, 8 times a day?
Well, I don't know if you caught his reaction yesterday to the Cubs game, but he acted like we were talking about a kickball game on the west side of Indianapolis. And, ho-hum, who cares? You know, it was a fun season. We've just ran into a juggernaut. So I think he's already thrown in the towel, personally.
No, not really. I would like more games.
You know. If you'd like for me to go back to, a Cubs shirt, just let me know. I can be a supportive friend here.
I was going to say, for two guys who don't know blank about baseball, you guys are really twisting the knife about what your teams are not doing right now. Wow.
Last night was wild. I mean, that was one of the... that was crazy. That entire game, the pick six, the fumble on the goal line, the stumble, fall down. I forgot Trevor Lawrence can run like that. Like in general, if you watched the game last night, I mean, he was taking off a ton there. Travis Hunter made a hell of a catch in that game. That is crazy to now sit here on October 7th, and we're talking about 2 4-1 AFC South teams, and neither of them are the Houston Texans. Imagine that a month ago, but that's where we're at right now. Colts and Jags here not only top the AFC South, but two of the best teams in the entire conference through the first month of the season.
It's crazy, James. You get a turnover and turn the ball over and throw an interception on the 1 yard line and have it return 99 yards for a touchdown. Apparently that 14-point swing means a lot in a game.
Absolutely. I thought that the refs missed a blatant pass interference as well that really hurt the Jaguars throughout that game. And so, when they got the pass interference call down there at the end of the game, I was thinking, well, here's your chance to knock off the team that's gone to 3 straight Super Bowls. And so I know that is a gut punch for the Kansas City Chiefs, but obviously nobody around here is feeling sorry for them.
No, they're up 14-0 at one point in that game.
You're
You kind of
thinking,
thought they're back. Kansas City. Remember, many years ago, maybe a decade ago, Kansas City had a terrible start. People were writing them off. The next thing you know, they're running like 10 games in a row off to the Super Bowl. I thought, well, maybe this is their get-right moment, but it got wrong in a hurry.
Yeah, I don't even know if they've been 2-3 through their first 5 games. Like when the last time that's happened. They're not looking like the Chiefs of old. And, if you're watching that game as an AFC South person or as a Colts fan, you're probably thinking, Patrick Mahomes, do me a favor here, man.
Yeah, if the playoffs started today, the Chiefs and Ravens wouldn't even be close to making it.
Wow.
I mean, imagine that.
Well, I would say right now, the Ravens are not going to make it.
Wow,
I think they're
Vegas,
dead.
Mark, look this up. I think Vegas still has them as the AFC North favorite.
They're dead.
I mean, we went over it yesterday. They're like the 4th highest odds to go to the AFC Championship game, which I'm like, that can't
and
be
if
true.
you can't beat the Lamar Jackson-less Ravens, if you're in that division, you should be relegated out of the league. That team is awful without him.
You bring this up, Kevin. Right now in the AFC.
They are still the favorite. They are still the favorite to win the AFC North. They're minus 105.
Well, looking at the rest of the landscape in that division, I guess. But, but man.
So the Colts are the number one. Again, 5 weeks in. We all get it. But it's just fascinating to me that the Colts are the number 1 seed in the AFC right now. The Bills would be second. The Steelers third. Chargers fourth, all because they would be divisional champions. Then the Jaguars at 4-1 are the top wild card right now, followed by the Broncos and Patriots. You would have included 3 of those teams in that top 7 probably a month ago, Kevin.
Again, we got to wait a long time until Colts and Jags face off. It's nothing until December, so it's kind of the weird AFC South schedule for the Colts this year. They will see Tennessee here in a couple weeks. They'll be done with the Titans by Halloween, but nothing against Jacksonville until December. It's like I want to say it's like week 14 and 17, just something really late in the season. And then Houston is the season finale for the Colts. So, I still am not totally sure if I believe in Jacksonville, but, I guess I was reminded watching the game last night a couple things. One, Jacksonville did win a playoff game a few years ago, and if you recall, I think it was 2 years ago, they were the number 1 seed in the AFC entering December. Like, they came back from the year of winning the playoff game. They were the 1 seed going in the final month of the season and then just fell off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
You then fast forward to last year, they were bad. They fire whatever the hell his name is.
Doug Peterson? No.
Doug Peterson. They bring in Liam Cohen, and if you believe in Sean McVay and the Sean McVay whatever coaching tree, Liam Cohen does come from that. And if you can, I guess, resurrect Trevor Lawrence, although I still feel like just a ton of turnovers have really been the big thing for them so far this season. But nonetheless, super impressive, great Monday night game, and probably much needed if you are a fan looking for entertaining baseball.
Wow, was that again?
Okay.
No, that was literally zero shot whatsoever at Mark Dykton.
Okay.
I thought the game last night wasn't once Milwaukee took the lead, the 7-3 lead, I didn't think it was super competitive. That first game,
No.
Oh my gosh. That Tommy Edmonds throw from second base to first base, that looked like that is what I would imagine me putting on the 18th green to win the Masters like if that ever happened. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Where Freeman saved it at the
Oh
at
my
the end
gosh, he almost 3-hopped it to Freddie Freeman.
Freeman went into catcher blocking plate mode right there.
He had
But it
to
worked.
backhand one from second base in order to record the 27th out. So that was a hell of a finish in the first game.
Yeah, they got it done, and they had a great, kind of a defensive bunt drill to make sure they got a lead runner home. They did a lot of things right in that game. Milwaukee just used the long ball yesterday. That was a problem.
That was maddening because it all happened with like 2 outs every single time. So like you're like, just get out of this inning, and then they wouldn't. You're like, for God's sake. So yeah, that was disappointing. But we still got game 3. Let's turn the ship around. I said ship, so we'll see how that goes.
Brewers gave a lot of work to the rows 5 and 6 in the left field bleachers last night. Is what happened.
Keep going, Jeff. Go ahead.
Go
Go ahead. Keep going.
Look, I'm just trying to even it up around here. That's all we're trying to do.
How many teams do you root for again? A baker's dozen? One of your teams has to be in it still.
Well, one of them doesn't really play Major League Baseball anymore. So.
He's like, oh, the Broncos won, the Colts won, the Panthers won. I'm like, that's 3 teams. What are we doing? How many baseball teams? The Rockies, the Cubs, the Reds,
Jeff,
Mets,
fight back,
the Braves,
No, because
the
he's
Fever, the Lynx. It just keeps going.
the Fever, the
Crimson
Lynx.
Tide, the Duke basketball.
You're just making stuff up. You're just running down stuff.
I'm a big fan of Cowboys, what they're doing today.
I don't have the patience to jack with you
Neither
today.
do I, Jerry. I agree.
I will say Jeff is taking it a couple, notches above the old belt here, Mark.
I know. I know.
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
I've got audio that goes back decades at this point, so I'd toe the line here.
I had a good time watching everything last night. That's all I can tell you. I enjoyed all of it. But I did enjoy the football game a little bit more. I would have liked to have seen the Chiefs hold on, but I don't know what you do. Again, you have those major swings. You keep waiting for Trevor Lawrence, to your point, Kevin, to make a mistake again, and he almost did. Someone pointed out on ESPN after the game last night that Trevor last year would have tried to throw the ball from his knees when he was scrambling around down there at the goal line towards the very end of the game, but he had the wherewithal to pick himself up. The Chiefs didn't get to him, and he made a big play running the football.
Well, the 3rd and 7th throw to Brian Thomas earlier in that drive, that's big league.
Dime.
I mean, that was dime, hell of a catch. And again, Brian Thomas Jr., for those unfamiliar, he's kind of struggled this season. And then, if they can continue to involve Hunter offensively, I mean, that was just a backyard athletic dude making a play when he went up and got it a little bit earlier in that game. So, yes, it was a great Monday night game last night. And now we'll shift gears here, week 6. We'll get 2 Monday Nighters, I believe, coming up here in a few days.
Yeah, we'll tell you all about that and everything else you need to know, including a big game in college football around these parts, even though it's on the road this weekend. We'll tell you all about that next as we continue at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Happy Tuesday. Ready to roll on for another week in the National Football League. It finished up last night on Monday Night Football. Jacksonville rallying from 14 points down in the first half. They win at 31-28, probably the biggest play in the game. A pick six that Patrick Mahomes throws as he's about to go in to the goal line at the 1-yard line, and it gets returned all the way for a touchdown. Then later on, Trevor Lawrence rallies his team late to get a game-winning touchdown.
I've never seen a guy fall down like twice and still score a touchdown. That was a ridiculous play.
Yeah, they deserve that loss.
I kept waiting for a Chief to just come touch him down or get to him, and apparently they dropped 9 guys in coverage or something because nobody was around him.
Just how they drew it up, as they say.
Yep. So anyway, they get the win. That means that they are tied atop the AFC South with the Colts. Both teams are 4-1. And this coming Sunday, the Colts will play at home again at Lucas Oil, 1 o'clock against the Arizona Cardinals. Can you give me an update on any injury news that was announced yesterday, or we have to wait really for tomorrow to find out more?
Yeah, unfortunately, it was confirmed by Shane Steichen, season-ending injury to Spencer Shrader, torn ACL and MCL. So just awful news for a guy that was obviously having a really promising start to, I guess, his first full season as an NFL kicker, and I believe kicker tryouts today for the Colts. So they don't get back to practice till tomorrow. So I would think they would make some sort of kicker move here in the next 24 hours or so. Seemed a little bit more optimistic on Grover Stewart's bicep. So not yet confirmed on that for Shane Steichen, but that is definitely good news for one of the more indispensable players. And then out west, we'll see about Kyler Murray. Again, this line is hovering right around last week. The Colts are right around a touchdown favorite over the Cardinals. I'm curious how much of that does Vegas look at Kyler Murray's status and think it could be Jacoby Brissett on Sunday. It was a foot injury for Kyler Murray. He left the Tennessee game briefly, did come back, but he did not run the football a single time the rest of the game. So something definitely to keep an eye on for Week 6.
Right. As far as kickers coming in today, do we have any idea who's going to be on that list, or is it just guesswork?
No, we don't have any idea.
Bring back Hot Rod. Let's do it. Come on.
I saw a groundswell of support on social media last night for Rodrigo Blankenship. Bring back the Lego guy.
No, them people, they not for real.
All right.
Not as bad as the people wanting Justin Tucker, who's suspended until Week 10 and is a PR nightmare.
Miles Turner exits with Legos. Rodrigo Blankenship returns with Legos.
Yeah.
Could be.
Hold my beer turns into hold my Lego.
Indiana Pacers start the preseason tonight. They will play at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Tip at 8 p.m. Our coverage begins at 7:30 here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. And I guess the biggest question is what's going to look like at the center position as we get closer and closer to the regular season. Any thoughts on how that might go tonight?
Yeah, I'd assume Isaiah Jackson gets the first look coming back from the Achilles. Rick Carlisle said yesterday Isaiah Jackson, James Wiseman, both full go from their respective Achilles tears. Obviously, Jay Huff, the newcomer, stylistically, probably a little bit of the JV version of Miles Turner. But really looking forward to just seeing the Pacers tonight. It sounds like a relatively healthy first and second unit. Cam Jones, the rookie out of Marquette, sounds like he's going to miss a little bit more time. I don't think Ben Shepherd will play tonight. But yeah, they got 4 preseason games. Last year, their starters played. I think it was right around 15 minutes or so in the first preseason game. So 8 o'clock tonight, as Jeff said, on our airwaves. And yes, this is available. Preseason road games typically have not been available on TV. This is available. You won't get Chris and Quinn. Yes, they are back for another season. But you'll get the Minnesota crew. I don't think you'll get Michael Grady, though, on the call. So 8 o'clock tonight, Pacers and T-Wolves.
Shout out Chris Dennery, his 20th season, calling Pacers games. The legend.
I want to say they'll do... I was talking to him yesterday. I think it's 72 games right now, maybe add a couple depending on the NBA Cup. So, again, typical. This is just like it was last year. FanDuel, I believe Amazon Prime, if you have a subscription there, you can also watch Pacer games via that outlet there. So basically how you watched the Pacers last year will be how you watch them again this year.
So do you need a subscription with Prime and then a FanDuel subscription? How does that work? I don't know.
That is a good question.
Yeah, I believe that is a good question, Mark. Let me double check that.
All right, while you do that, I did see Tyrese Halliburton at least standing up and shooting some mild jump shots yesterday. And, of course, he's not going to play at all this year, but it's always nice to see him up and doing something. So we look on that. I also saw, James, where the NBA is going to do a huge study, and they're going to fund some doctors and some AI study to find out why we might have had this rash of Achilles injuries in the NBA the past couple of years. They're just kind of interested to see, is there something we're doing wrong? Is there something going on? Let's try and find out if there are any dots to connect here.
Yeah, if we can have less of them, I am all for it. It is a devastating injury, and usually an injury that knocks you out for at least one season.
All
I'm
right.
doing a quick search right now. It looks like you need an Amazon Prime subscription, and then you can get FanDuel for $15.99 for the first month and then $19.99 after that. So you have to double stack some subscriptions.
Which $19.99 I think is the normal
Yes.
subscription price. So
I
there you
always
go.
think like, man, I think how much is HBO? Is it like $10 a month?
don't know.
I'm like, man, is that worth 2 HBOs?
I know. Nickel and diming you these days.
I know.
All right, college football going to be an important weekend coming up in the Big Ten for Indiana. They play on the road at Oregon, 3:30 kick. Indiana ranked 7th in the latest AP poll. Oregon is ranked 3rd right now. The Ducks are 7.5-point favorites over Indiana, 55.5 for the over/under. So a lot of points expected there. And I guess we find out, can Curt Cignetti and this football team travel and play a top 5 team on the road? Looking forward to finding out the answer to that. I don't see why they couldn't.
What a moment it'll be for their program. It was funny. I went back and watched some of the Colts game yesterday and a little bit Sunday night. I couldn't believe how many promos there were for Indiana and Oregon. It just shows you where Indiana is at as a football program. So, yes, College Game Day will be there. Curt Cignetti did say yesterday D'Angelo Pons, their star corner, should be back for this one, and he had plenty of praise for Dan Lanning. I believe he used the P word, phenom, young phenom. He called him in coaching. So a lot of big praise there. And I thought Cignetti was really honest yesterday. When asked about the Notre Dame and Ohio State games from last year, he said, yeah, we got beat up in the trenches, but we didn't win any battle. And that's kind of the next step. Obviously, it's crazy to think Indiana's already at this spot on the ladder in college football, but now can you get the true marquee win? This would be beyond that, given the environment, given the travel, given who Oregon has shown them to be here this season. So 3:30 coming up Saturday, CBS. That'll be Gary Danielson, Brad Nessler, and company.
All right. Later on that night, Purdue will play on the road at Minnesota, and Notre Dame also kicking off at 3:30, taking on North Carolina State. 2 TV day in your household, Kevin, right? You going to watch Indiana and Notre Dame at the same time, or just Notre Dame only?
I'm all Irish.
All right. Just checking. We do have one update to give you. Former NFL quarterback and Fox Sports analyst Mark Sanchez charged with felony battery after a weekend altercation in Indianapolis where he was stabbed after allegedly attacking a truck driver. Sanchez was initially charged with a string of misdemeanors before Marion County prosecutor Ryan Mears announced that the one-time New York Jets star would face a felony charge of battery involving serious bodily injury. So that's the latest on that, James.
Yeah, I was down here yesterday at that press conference when they updated the charges, and there's a lot of moving parts here, a lot to unpack. They were asked, hey, did you give a blood alcohol, test to him to see how drunk he was? And they didn't really answer that. They were talking about how they wanted to try to make sure they get the medical records for everyone involved to see their, quote, state of mind. And that's one of the things that Ryan Mears said. And then you heard from Chris Bailey, the police chief, saying that it doesn't matter what your job is, who you are. If you come here and you commit violence, they will use all of their resources to, obviously hold you accountable. But yeah, it's a very weird and bizarre situation. We heard from the family. They were just asking, for privacy and thankful that, Mark Sanchez is, I guess, recovering well. But yeah, I'm sure there will be more that comes from this. But I think one of the biggest takeaways that I had was when Ryan Mears, the prosecutor, says, this all happened because you're arguing over a parking spot. And you have two people that, fortunately, as Police Chief Chris Bailey said, fortunately, no one's dead because of this.
All right, we'll follow that for you as it develops. In the meantime, take a quick time out. For those of you who wake up early and take the early drive to work and don't get to hear us all the time, we had a great conversation with Ashton Dulin yesterday. We'll let you listen to some of that coming up in a moment here as we continue at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning and welcome into the Fan Morning Show. And all week last week, we were talking about the effects of wide receiver mistakes, specifically mistakes by A.D. Mitchell, dropping a ball at the goal line that turned a touchdown into a turnover, a holding on a call that brought back what would have been a touchdown run by Jonathan Taylor. And we talked about whether or not he would play, would he be punished, all those kinds of things. Did get into the game very late and didn't do a whole lot. But it allowed some of the other guys to step up and shine they did, whether it was Josh Downs, the always reliable Michael Pittman Jr. just does his thing week in and week out. And it was a really nice day, I thought, Kevin Bowen, too, for Ashton Dulin.
Yeah, he certainly, I thought, was honestly kind of the ideal replacement to send a further message to A.D. Mitchell. James, you don't envision the A.D. Mitchell punishment lasting another week, do you?
Not necessarily. I think it all depends. A lot of it hinges on the availability of Alec Pierce.
Let's say Alec Pierce does not play.
If he does not play, yeah, I don't see them still going out there and telling Ashton Dulin, hey, you got to go play, offense and special
47
teams.
47 snaps, career high for him.
Yeah, I think that would be a bit short-sighted because you do want to try to keep him healthy. And, again, his biggest value to you, at least if you have kind of laid it out at the beginning of the season, was for special teams. And so you don't want to get him out there and get him hurt. And then you're looking like, okay, well, we probably should have just, trusted our young guys. So you send the message last week and you hope that it gets through to A.D. Mitchell, but obviously he will be on a very short leash. You can't just, continue to go out there and have blunders and mishaps and not think the game out. And that's the biggest thing with A.D. Mitchell is the thinking part when it comes to high-pressure situations and making sure that he's locked in.
Yeah, I think the punishment should be over, but I don't think A.D. Mitchell should go back to be 50-snap guy and Ashton Dulin back to being whatever 10.
No, I just mean if there's probably more balance there. I would think,
or just even kind of again when everyone's healthy in the whiteout room, A.D. Mitchell plays around 10, 15 snaps. I think you could sprinkle him in a little bit more in the first half. That's probably the approach that I would take. So yeah, last week again, it was definitely a benching. At times, A.D. Mitchell didn't even have his helmet on when the offense was out on the field, which is a true indicator that dude is not going in anytime soon here. But, again, Ashton Dulin just defines so many things that I think the organization wants to stand for. I mentioned to you guys yesterday late in the show, I'm like, I was watching the game on Sunday and thought to myself, he's just he's a Purdue basketball role player. He just fits exactly the type of puzzle piece that teams need. It's not overly flashy, but yet, he's an undrafted free agent that now is 6-7 years into the league. Guys
Which is crazy in itself.
He's come back from a torn ACL. Like, guys just don't do that. And think about how many wideouts they've drafted. So they've drafted all the wideouts above him: Pittman, Pierce, Mitchell, Downs, Gould. But they also drafted Mike Strawn, Desmond Patman, Paris Campbell is his draft class. I mean, that's how long Ashton Dulin has been a Colt here, and yet here he is, the longest tenured wideout of any of those guys across multiple coaching staffs, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a great, great story.
Mark, we have Chad Sims in the YouTube chat asking for an update on the counter for A.D. Mitchell.
Oh, well, let me get that ready for you then. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think we did that yesterday.
I know what this is.
Yeah, I think we didn't do that yesterday. So, yeah, that's on us that we didn't
on
properly check. Well, that's on you for projecting 80 catches, first of all. But yeah, I think we need to update that. Let me find the proper. We have to make it official. Let me get that information. So go ahead and reset, and I'll get you set there.
Well, yesterday in the 9 o'clock hour, we had a chance to talk to Ashton Dulin, who had 2 catches for 55 yards and just looked smooth in doing it and did all the work, as Kevin was talking about, that a wide receiver needs to do all day long. And so we thought we'd bring him on the show. It was in the 9 o'clock hour for everybody who gets up early and is already at work by the time we get to the 9 o'clock hour. Here was that conversation. Good morning, Ashton Dulin. How much fun did you have yesterday, my friend?
Good morning. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was definitely lots of fun yesterday. To get a win like that and at home is definitely a good feeling.
Ashton, you strike me as a dude that doesn't get tired. You just played a career high in offensive snaps. Are you extra tired this Monday morning?
Body I'm definitely feeling a little bit, but hey, that's what I signed up for. 7 years been used to it, so nothing new.
So no thought to go to the old oxygen after the kick return. I literally would have been on the bench for the next 10 minutes, and you just run back to the offensive huddle.
It's actually funny because a couple of guys were like, hey, you want to get no oxygen? I was like, man, I didn't even think about it. I probably should have taken hindsight, but probably next time.
Ashton, when you look at what your offense was able to do overall, why do you think this group is clicking at a rate that we just haven't seen for a team that once had Peyton Manning? I mean, you all scored on 6 straight possessions, and not just scored, you had 6 straight touchdowns.
Yeah, man, I think it's just a testament to, how prepared everybody is from, to the quarterback position, O-line, running back, tight end, receiver. Everybody's locked in and dialed in on what the game plan is and what their job is doing every given Sunday. So I think when you can click on a high level like that, you get the results we're getting.
After the game, Shane Steichen described you as being tough and gritty. Would you agree with that assessment, and how would you describe just your path from, Malone, which no longer has a football program at that, university, to now being, on your second contract? I believe it might have been second or third contract in the NFL as an undrafted player.
Yeah, I think that's a fair description. I should pride myself on, doing whatever it is the team asks of me, and doing a high effort. I've been doing it for 7 years now. It's been blessed to be at 7 years now. So just got to continue to do that and just stick with it.
All I know is I want Ashton Dulin on the radio station more. This deep voice on a Monday morning, I'm all about that, man. I dig that. But we also want to know, talk us through what it's like in the huddle with Daniel Jones right now. We're all kind of getting to know him a little bit. You guys get to spend every single day with him. Why is he successful here? What's going on, and what do you see?
He attacks every day the same as far as how he prepares, and he's in the building early. He was the last one to leave. I might air him out for this, but he might show up to a dinner a couple 15, 20 minutes late just because he's breaking down film still coming from the facility. So we might give him a little stuff for that. But he prepares in the right way, and he comes into work. He leads the right way. He leads by example. He's a great guy to have in the huddle.
Ashton, when you kind of agreed with, Shane's assessment of, gritty, work ethic, et cetera, what's that rooted in? When was that kind of instilled in you from I assume, a younger age?
Yeah, for sure. I've been in sports since, 4, 5, 6 years old. So the competitive nature is there for sure. That's just something I've always, kind of prided myself on. But, to be a part of a team like this, kind of everybody has that grit and that grind. So it's kind of contagious around the facility and the building. When you see somebody else doing it, you kind of want to pick your play up too. So just to have that, it's great to be around.
If you don't mind, could you take us back? And I think you've told this story before, but for our audience that hasn't heard it, could you go back to the 2019 draft and just, I guess, did you think you would get drafted? What was the final day like, and why Indy as an undrafted free agent?
For me, it was to think I was getting drafted. I was just happy to get the opportunity to go to the combine, be the first player from my school to go to the combine, and have a chance to get drafted, and just to be in the league as a whole. To be that first guy was surreal, kind of a blessing. But just to get in the building, and that final day, not hearing my name called, but then immediately after, you're on the phone talking to teams and kind of deciphering, what's the best fit and where to go. And Indy was always kind of my second home because I was born here, and my mom's side is all from Indy, so it was like, this is a good choice. The situation with, just to be here with Chris and everybody, and they were welcome me with welcome arms, open arms. They were like, just come in and work and earn your spot. And that's what happened.
I totally forgot that you were born here. Where were you, or where did your mom's side grow up, and how long did you live here?
Yeah, so I was born in Elkhart, Indiana. She was born in Elkhart. I was only there for a couple months, but her she grew up here. Her side is all from Elkhart. They say that's the RV capital of the world. So small little Elkhart. Yeah.
They should be giving Ashton Dulin just RVs galore after that effort yesterday.
I feel like
right?
It, right? We got to get your Wikipedia. We got to get the Wikipedia page updated, Ashton, because they're lying about you, man. They said you're born in Ohio, and I feel like after you have a game like that and a career like you've had, you got to get some more respect here on the internet.
Wikipedia, anybody can edit on Wikipedia, so it's free game with that for sure.
I'm gonna go in and change it to Ashton doesn't get tired Dulin, as your name. One thing I do want to get into, and I think I had this conversation with you a couple years ago, actually. So can you describe your football career pre-Malone? Because from what I understand, and this was self-admitted by you at the time, you weren't always maybe the best student or whatever, and didn't play a lot of organized football growing up. So can you take us down memory lane a little bit and also explain what the shift was, what your pivot was to taking football more serious and obviously getting to where you are today?
Yeah. So obviously I played throughout Little League, junior, pee-wees and middle school, junior high. Starting when I was 8 years old, played till I got to high school. The problem was my grades my freshman and sophomore year. Didn't have the grades, so I couldn't play. I couldn't run track either. Not focusing in the classroom, stuff like that. But then I missed my freshman and sophomore year, playing my junior and senior year. Was playing free safety my junior year, and then played both ways, obviously, my senior year. And then had a couple walk-ons, preferred walk-ons to play free safety. Had like 4 offers for receiver. I also wanted to run track in college. So for me, it was like, let's do both. Malone was the best fit for that. And then, played out from there, got recognized by scouts, and here I am now, 7 years later.
That's crazy. And from what I understand, Malone is in Canton, Ohio, so you're like right next door to the Hall of Fame. So what was that like? Did you ever think, when did it become realistic for you, like, I can probably make it to the NFL? And how much of it was a reminder of, how much it takes when you got the Hall of Fame, right next door?
Yeah, we played in the stadium, so just to play there every Saturday was kind of dope. For me, just to know that you have an opportunity to go, as long as you do what you got to do, handle your grades, handle your business on the field and off the field, and they'll find you. So for me, my junior year, I was like, I got a shot. But I always believe, of course, I could make it to the league. That was always a goal of mine. But to have it, kind of come lay out in front of you, and the plan kind of comes together, and it's like, okay, now I can really do this. Your teammates around you, they get excited too, because they want a chance too, and they see scouts coming around. They're like, okay, everybody might have a shot. So just to have that in the locker room was good to see.
Well, Ashton, just real quick, I want to say your clout is already rising. We had a listener already update the Wikipedia page to say born in Elkhart, Indiana. So how quick was that?
Look at that. Man, wearing a lot of hats like Ashton Dulin yesterday on game day. He was a gunner. He was covering kicks. He was taking a kick back to the house. Unfortunately, got called back. And 2 big catches. Should have had a third. Frankly, I thought that other one was a catch there on the far sideline. Ashton Dulin with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. What is the new kickoff rule like? I'm stressed following it. What is that like for you? It's an entertaining play, but I feel like there's a ton of things going on with the new kickoff.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely fun. We get so many more chances to return the ball. But the kickers are kind of getting crazy with these kicks, some of these knuckleball kicks, and the different kind of trick kicks they can do. It makes fielding it a little bit more tougher. But once if you field it clean and you kind of beat that first level, then you got a shot pretty much almost every kickoff. So you just got to find the holes and trust your blocks, and then you gonna have a big play on the rise.
Biggest thing you've learned from Reggie Wayne since he's been your position coach?
Oh man. Is he diagnoses coverage probably better than anybody else. He's on the field, he's on the sideline sometimes, just yelling at us what the coverage is, and right before the play you might see a picture, it changes, and he's able to, sometimes we can hear him, sometimes we can't. He doesn't know that, don't tell him that. But when he sees it, he's yelling on the sideline, hey, cover 2, cover 4, whatever. But just having him there, and it makes reading defenses easier, makes you comfortable, go out there and play and trust your abilities.
Is he a coach that shows his own highlights to you?
To believe it or not, he's probably only showed I could probably count on one hand how many times he showed me his highlights. Really? Probably all of us as a whole. He doesn't really brag too much, but he definitely shows us his like when he's breaking down a certain route or something like that. He'll definitely go back to the archives and pull his one-on-one clips of him just routing somebody up and and doing what he does.
Hey, while we're talking about wide receivers, one of the things I really like about this group, and obviously Jonathan Taylor is one of, if not the best running back in the NFL right now, but running backs in the NFL don't get yards unless wide receivers, not just offensive linemen, do their job and make blocks. This group seems totally bought in on making sure you make your block and your assignment. What do you guys talk about going into games when it comes to you just making sure you seal your edge, you take care of the cornerback, you help create that hole? What's that like for you guys?
Oh man, everybody in the receiver room is ready to block for anybody. There's cliches, block to get the rock. So that we're all kind of bought in on making sure our guy doesn't make the tackle, because if he doesn't make the tackle, then Reggie is counted as a loss every time. Doesn't matter. If your guy makes the tackle, whether you beat him in the first 5 yards and you had a good block for that first, 2 seconds of the play, but if he gets on the tackle where he makes the play, Reggie counted as a loss. So for us, it's don't let your man make the tackle, and let JT go to work.
Great fun to talk to you this morning. Nice job yesterday. It's been a fun season so far. Keep it going, my man. We appreciate watching you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. Appreciate you having me. Have a good one.
Kevin, all the things you said, and it was fun catching up with him yesterday. If you missed that at 9 o'clock yesterday, there's a little replay. If you just got in on the tail end of it and didn't get it yesterday, you can go to 1075thefan.com and listen to it anytime you want to today. But, Kevin, the fact that we have an undrafted free agent that's had a major injury in the middle of his career and is in his 6th season in the NFL, that does not happen. Very rare.
Yeah, 7th season in the NFL. It's a tremendous Colts story. And I know the undrafted free agent lineage here is pretty strong, but Ashton Dulin's overall just makeup and everything, I think it's a great inspirational story. And again, I think it's it's kind of fitting, he was the player to replace A.D. Mitchell. It wasn't like some other young draft pick that they're kind of waiting to turn to. No. It's a dude that just works and works and works. And he got rewarded for that on Sunday. So definitely deserve it, and I was glad that he was able to join us yesterday.
Yeah, we were talking about Alec Pearson, his availability this past weekend, and obviously it looked like he might be progressing to getting better, and then it feels like we're right back where we started. Am I missing something there, James, or are we still trending towards maybe there's a chance this week, or we just don't know?
Yeah, so just to break it down, because we definitely get these questions from fans, and I know you like to follow up. But on Mondays and Tuesdays, there's not much information to gather on injuries. And if Shane doesn't say anything on Monday, there's not really much we're going to find out until we go to practice on Wednesday. So tomorrow we should be able to see with our own eyes who's out there, and that'll inform a lot of the progress or lack thereof involving Alec Pierce. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the concussion protocol, like we saw last week, he can practice a couple days, and then he, from what I understand, he kind of went to the team and told him Friday, hey, I can't go, which is commendable for him because you don't want him to go out there when he's not right. But you can practice all week and still not get cleared because you have to. The final step of the concussion protocol is to be cleared by an independent, neurological consultant. So that is basically what you have to get through to make sure that you can play. So I'm hoping, for the best for Alec Pierce. He's somebody that I obviously respect and admire his work ethic and things of that nature. But it is a bit concerning that he kind of suffered a setback last week with the concussion. But in my opinion, it's much, much better to not play and be forthcoming about not feeling right. That way you can, hopefully get back to your baseline and who you are as a person before you get back on the field.
And, of course, the Colts play Sunday afternoon, Lucas Oil Stadium against the Arizona Cardinals, and they may not have their quarterback. Kyler Murray has got a little foot injury that he's dealing with. We'll find out more about his status as the week goes along. It's the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd. I'm Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton over there to just make sure there's like a little cactus spike in all of us at some point in time during the day. I mean, that's kind of how it works, especially a day after you had a rough night with the Cubs last night. This is how it goes sometimes.
Be careful. Tread lightly. That's all I'm saying.
We do have basketball tonight, though. The NBA returns preseason. The Indiana Pacers taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. That one starts at 8 p.m., 7:30 start time here on 93.5, 107.5. The Fan. We talked a little earlier, Kevin, about what you expect to see at center. Maybe Isaiah Jackson returning from that Achilles injury gets the start there. But, KB, I think we're going to see a lot of guys, especially during this preseason, just funneling in and out to see kind of what works with everybody, right?
Well, yeah, and definitely a lot of guys at center. Again, 4 guys, Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman, you probably group them together just because they're the Achilles guys. Tony Bradley, remember the finals last year. He was playing over Thomas Bryant in the finals. And then we'll see about Jay Huff. I definitely watched a good amount of Jay Huff in college and always thought he's kind of a unique player and, over 7 foot, shooting threes. Seemingly all he did was when he was inside the arc, he would backwards dunk. That's like his thing. And, he played in Memphis a little bit last season, and now he comes over here, and clearly skill set wise, he's different than the other centers. So, I keep on coming back to this with Pascal Siakam. Siakam was pretty adamant about this when he was traded here. He always said he thought about playing with Miles Turner and having a center that can really stretch the floor with him. Well, Isaiah Jackson, that's really never been his game. Some other stuff to the table, but again, stepping out and providing that space for Siakam, probably not his strength. So again, how the Pacers handle these centers, I think will be on the list of interesting topics. And here we are. 2 weeks from Thursday is when it starts, and they'll have 4 preseason games. Anthony Edwards didn't play over the weekend for Minnesota. I know Rick Carlisle said he thought there was a chance he was going to play tonight. So you could get some really good on the Pacers good tonight.
Could be a lot of fun. And then, of course, in the backcourt, we're going to see a lot of different guys with different responsibilities than we had last year because of the shuffling of Tyrese Halliburton being out this year. It'll be interesting to see kind of what the approach is tonight in his very first preseason game.
Absolutely. I mean, a big year for Andrew Nembhard. He's going to be the lead guard. He's going to be the point guard running the show. And so how different does it look? Because as much as I'm sure they want to still run the same offense stylistically, I want to remind people that Tyrese Halliburton is one of one, and he is an all-NBA caliber player. So what level can Andrew Nembhard get to? Can he be a borderline all-star caliber player or push himself into that tier of being an all-star? Those are the things that he's sort of chasing, I would think, for this season. Overall, beyond just the team playing well. And then Benedict Mathurin. He is the not biggest question mark to me, but perhaps has the most riding on this season just because of the opportunity in front of him to be, more of a ball-dominant scorer. But also, if you talk to anybody within the franchise, from, Chad Buchanan to Rick Carlisle to his teammates, they all want to see him play a little faster and get off the ball a little bit better and move the ball a little bit better. So what does that balance look like when he's by nature a killer, and also by nature of the Pacers, they want to be one of the more free-hearted and free-flowing teams in the league?
You think they start just getting it up and down the floor right out of the gate in preseason game number 1? Pick up right where they left off? That is their philosophy. That is certainly what they want to do, but you're having different guys do it. So there's going to be, I think, a little bit of some growing pains there. But the good thing is, if there is some silver lining to the injury to Tyrese Halliburton, is that when it happened, you went into the offseason. And so you were able to retool your roster a little bit and prepare everyone for what their role will be going into this year, as opposed to having to do that, on the fly during the season.
And then second unit for me, too, Jarris Walker and Johnny Furphy. I mean, obviously Walker, a former top 10 pick, so that kind of goes without saying. But, internally, they are very high on Johnny Furphy. And they had Furphy ranked very high on the draft board when they took him, a couple drafts ago out of Kansas, even though he fell all the way to the second round. So, as you start to envision what the next, handful of years could look like for the Pacers, are we talking about, Walker? I think obviously a ton of our fans know who he is, but, is Furphy a guy that they really think can be a rotational guy this season and potentially knock on a bigger door here in the years to come? So just, I'm happy to watch a little Tuesday night ball tonight. I don't know how often I say that. It's just the AL games, right, tonight, Mark? Is this where we start splitting up the series?
Uh-huh.
So just the AL games tonight from a Major League Baseball standpoint.
For a
Pacers.
second there, I thought you were like really, really excited about the Pacers, and I was like, wow, man, I see the Plot Rickens shirt, but brother, I was like, man, that's a level of excitement I hadn't heard from you about watching Tuesday night ball.
Well, it's better. I mean, I don't know. I'm not totally invested into the AL series here, so I'm looking forward to it.
Neither are the
tonight.
Yankees, apparently.
So is the only split Tigers Mariners?
Yes.
Yep. Everybody else is up 2-0.
Everybody else is 2-0.
Yep. Give you all the details on that coming up in a minute. NBA basketball, Pacers, T-Wolves tonight, 8 o'clock, 7:30. The coverage begins here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Back to the Colts with Joel A. Erickson next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Fresh off a 34-point win over the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday afternoon at Lucas Oil Stadium, the Indianapolis Colts find themselves atop the standings in not only the AFC South, but atop the AFC as well. We've been talking about it this morning and wanted to get a different perspective from somebody else who is also very closely following the team at all times. Joel A. Erickson joins us now on the Payless Liquors hotline from the Indy Star. And good morning, Joel. Before we get going, I'm going to let you have your 10 seconds with Mark Dykton here. I know you guys have spoken on the phone already, but anything you'd like to say to our resident Cubs fan here?
No. You don't. No. You don't count victories before they're over.
See, I knew this booking was a bad idea because I was like, one of us is going to be pissed tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. It's either going to be me or it's going to be Joel, and Joel's not going to want to have anything to do with this conversation. So.
I was trying to hype Joel up, about the
trying to give you your
and
shot.
He was not going for it. I was like, he told me that he is the nervous fan.
I texted him yesterday. We had a good conversation about our teams heading into the game too, and he said he was nervous. I said I was nervous too, but we are fans of our team, so we want them to do well. But yeah, you don't count your eggs before they're hatched. It looks good for the Brewers, but it's looking awfully good.
Would have been a great lesson for me.
Series is best of 5, so we'll see.
All I do is count my eggs before they hatch.
Enjoy it while you can, right, James?
That's what I try to do. Joel, I've learned nothing. Do not teach your sons to be like your boy, because otherwise they'll be down bad like me.
Joel, let's talk some football here. The Colts, as I said a moment ago.
Can I throw in one more?
Yeah.
Joel, it seemed like Mark Dykton went real quiet Belichick voice when he got you on the phone there. Joel, congrats. Congrats on your Brewers.
I'm not happy.
That's what I observed.
It was a little bit less exuberant than Mark normally is, but listen, he was up late. It was inexplicably a 9 o'clock start.
I'm tired, Joel. I don't like those 9 o'clock starts. I'm tired.
I'm glad I don't have to go to the Colts facility today because it was late. That was a late game.
I didn't go to bed till like 12:30.
There you go.
Not ideal.
All right, let's talk some football now. As I mentioned a moment ago, and we talked about this a little bit amongst ourselves yesterday, but in the middle of August, let's say second week of training camp, could you have envisioned a 4-1 start and being literally the number one team in the AFC after 5 games of 17? But still, did you see this coming in any way?
No. I think there's some people who thought maybe they could recreate sort of what they had with Gardner Minshew with Daniel Jones. I don't think they had them scoring 32 points a game through the first 5 games. I just didn't. We haven't a lot of stuff that Daniel Jones is doing with the Colts is stuff that he supposedly struggled with the Giants. The book on Daniel Jones was he takes a ton of sacks, so he's taken 4 in 5 games. The book on Daniel Jones was that he struggled with pressure. He hasn't really done that at all so far through the first 5 games. So I think anybody who says that they really, really believe outside of the biggest Danny Dimes fans in the world probably can't say that they saw this coming, because I don't believe them if you say that.
I wouldn't believe him either, honestly, Joel. We were there all of training camp, and we did not see this level of quarterback play from Daniel Jones, I don't think, for even one day out there. But to pivot a bit to more of the injury front, how big of a loss is Spencer Shrader, especially knowing how finicky the kicker position can be?
Yeah, I think this is huge. The Colts are kind of in a spot now where they got to hope to catch lightning in a bottle. They got to hope to catch lightning in a bottle here, because there's 32 teams. They all have kickers. Not all of them have good kickers. And the fact that means that the guys that are still out there are, flawed in some way. They're guys that people didn't want. So I think this is really, really big. Spencer Shrader still leads the NFL in scoring as of today. And this could be a really, really big deal, especially as this schedule gets more difficult, as they start playing harder teams and closer games. You think about that Broncos game, they get the leverage penalty, but then Shrader has to make the kick again. And he's been 13 of 14. If you have less reliability in that spot, I think we've all seen where that can go bad. The Shrader injury is one that seems pretty significant.
Joel, not to get into the weeds on, hey, what type of kicker should the Colts be looking for? But I guess I'm going to try that here. First off, you're limited a month into the season. You just kind of laid it out from a kicker standpoint. But with special teams coordinator Brian Mason, they've opted for this approach where some of the college resumes of their kickers might not be the most eye-popping in terms of percentage, but they like the big leg, and if they can do some research on you and they like your mental makeup, they want you to come into the building and see if they can develop you. Is that allowed to be at play here in season? Again, I get you got one hand tied behind your back, but I guess how do you envision it? Is that even possible, or is it just, hey man, go get the dude from Atlanta that his name I don't want to say out loud how it's spelled because I'm always afraid that the FCC will get in trouble when I say that dude's name, but is that your best bet?
Maybe it might be, Dustin Hopkins or Greg Joseph or one of these other guys that's kind of out there that's a veteran.
Not Young Ho.
I believe it's Young Wei.
Oh, Young Wei.
I believe
Okay.
it's Young
Spelled
Wei,
Young
too.
Ho, right?
It is spelled Young Ho.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
I believe it's Young Wei Koo. The thing is, Kevin, you kind of said this, but they go get those guys in the draft. It was that's how they got Shrader. Was they got him in the draft last year as the second kicker, and I just don't know if you can do that when they have to kick again right away on Sunday against the Cardinals. I think you kind of have to go the veteran route. Now, I do wonder if maybe we don't see one kicker transaction today. I wonder if we see two. I wonder if you see maybe
I think the Giants did that, right? Didn't the Giants recently do that?
And I feel like the Colts have had a kicker on the practice squad recently. Was Shrader there for a little bit? I'm trying to remember when that was.
Yeah, I think he was with Matt Gay.
Yeah, remember he kept getting elevated, then demoted, then cut, then signed. He was just in and out of the door. I felt like with the Colts last year.
Yeah, I think maybe you get two signings out of the tryout today that Shane Steichen talked about, just because the Colts know what we just said, that it's going to be really hard to find a reliable kicker at this point, and maybe you double your chances by signing somebody who's a veteran to kick, and then signing a younger guy that fits more of Brian Mason's style, and maybe you get a better look at him over the next week or so.
Joel A. Erickson, Indy Star, joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline this morning. He covers the Colts. And I'm just curious, 5 games in, almost a third of the way through the season, what's your assessment of this Lou Anarumo defense? I know that there's been injuries to the secondary. The linebacking core was thin to begin with. We've gotten more pressure up front. But overall, how's this defense working out so far?
I still think I'm still a little skeptical that this defense is sort of like a top 10 type unit or something like that. I think there's still some glaring weaknesses. Linebacker in coverage, it feels like I think the numbers back this up have not been good so far. Corners keep getting hurt. I don't know why. There's always one position every season that just seems to attract injuries more than any other. A lot of times it is corner in Indianapolis, at least. And they keep getting hit there. Mike Hilton goes down the other day with a shoulder injury. And then the pressure and the pass rush has been kind of peaks and valleys, up and down. It hasn't been as consistent as I thought. So I think that's a lot of ways to say. I still think that. That Rams game sticks out to me, where the Rams moved up and down the field, just because there's some weak spots to attack on this defense, and they need to kind of shore those up or figure out a way to minimize those going forward.
Joel, I'm kind of reminded by the way, Joel A. Erickson with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. I was kind of reminded of this as you went over some of, where are areas to improve. We are less than a month away from the NFL trade deadline. In Chris Ballard's history, which dates back to 2017 as Colts GM, I believe the only in-season trade is Nyheim Hines for Zach Moss and whatever that was, a fifth-round pick from the Bills. I I think that was the Colts selling. I don't even know if you would call them a buyer or a seller within that trade at all. Why do you think we haven't seen? I mean, there's been times 2018, 2019 they started 5-2, 2020. Obviously, like there's been moments where the Colts have been a playoff type of team. I guess 2018 it took a while before they got going, but certainly the next 2 years they've been in a good position at the trade deadline. Do you view this any differently? Do you view year 9 any differently? In terms of what Chris Ballard might do at the trade deadline, which he's usually been very quiet.
Chris has typically said, and this is true at the trade deadline, but it's also true, I think, throughout the offseason. He cares mostly about value. He doesn't want to pay more for a player than they're worth, and at the trade deadline, those values tend to get elevated. The Hines trade. That was kind of a Nyheim Hines thing more than anything. Nyheim Hines said he wanted to get out, and they had to make a trade there that they actually ended up winning because Zach Moss ended up being more productive than Hines after the trade. But that's the thing with Ballard is that he, at least based on what we've seen so far, typically he does not like to give up the value that teams want at the deadline, and a lot of times those players are kind of marginal in terms of what they get back in return. The name might sound good right away, and then they don't necessarily give a lot. But I think even with those spots on the roster, the price point is probably going to, just based on what we've seen before, the price point is probably going to keep him away from it.
Do you walk on the chalk at Baseball Diamonds?
No, never.
I was going to say, it sounds like a sin.
No, you don't do that.
Kevin
Never,
wouldn't know.
ever.
Kevin's a Reds fan. He doesn't know.
Wow.
I was just wondering where the superstitions are. There any baseball superstitions, Joel, you do not believe in, or do you believe in all of them?
All of them. All of them.
You do strike me as that dude.
All of them.
Okay. Probably smart. I mean, that's why you're up 2-0 and Mark's
Yeah,
down
so
0-2.
if you believe in him, Joel, the next time we see you come in as Coach Joel and you have your uniform on from coaching your kid, you got to keep it on during the draft, okay?
Pant leg up on the uniform. Do you pant leg it up to the knee? Are you Payne Stewart with the knickers or no?
Well, I always go shorts when I'm coaching, but when I played baseball, I did like the pants. I liked the knickers. I didn't like it all the way down to the leg.
Look at that. They need you at Connor Prairie playing
Honestly,
for one of
what
those throwback teams.
That's like what an old school soul Joel is.
Do you do
Old
the
leather
pocket
gloves.
pancake, Joel? Do you bring in the pocket pancake to
Oh, I saw
rally the
this.
troops?
Wow.
As much as I love Murph, I kind of think the Brewers manager is like the closest thing we have to Lou Brown in the game today. I don't think I could eat a pocket pancake. I enjoy that Murph likes those, but I don't know about it for me. Also, I think I'd be upset the next time I did laundry and I had, all these crumbs melting in the wash.
Where does maple syrup come from?
Exactly.
Would you eat somebody else's pocket pancake? That was so bizarre to me. I was like, she did that like just
Baseball super.
In the
if
moment.
you're gonna be superstitious, Joel, you got to go all the way.
I guess
Come
so.
on now, man.
I guess so.
I will say this. The Brewers started selling like a pocket pancake thing on Sundays after he did that. And I did tell my wife, I was like, we're not going to be there on a Sunday, but if they would, that's what I would eat. I would eat that.
All right. Pocket pancake.
Have a little snack next time you're out at the Colts camp. Those Steichen press conferences
That is-
can drag a little bit. You might
Yeah,
need a
you know
little
what? Yes,
pick-me-up.
I expect to see a pocket pancake sometime this week, Joel A. Erickson.
If I'm standing out at practice and I suddenly pull a pancake out of my pocket, I don't know what James would do.
Oh, I'm judging. I'm judging hard, brother. All this baseball talk. No, I'm still judging you, but it's always a good time to have you on the phone, man. Appreciate you.
Yep, sounds good, guys.
Thanks, Joel. Talk to you soon. Joel A. Erickson, Indy Star. Kevin, as a Reds fan, I was introduced to You Don't Step on the Chalk by Sparky Anderson back in the day with the big red machine.
Sacrilegious.
Sparky would not step on any of the chalk lines ever. And I'm like, okay, that's, as a little kid, you're like, well, that's how you do it. So that's what you do, right?
Speaking of superstitions, did you
Mark,
see
would
like
you step on one of your kids for some runs tomorrow night?
It depends which one. I don't know. Maybe.
Depends on
that's a
which kid
great
and which
answer.
week. Depends on which kid, which week, right?
Oh, didn't see it.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
every
what
single
my
day.
parents would say. But just speaking of superstitions, I'll say this real quick. Have you seen Warren Sapp for Colorado? I guess his thing when he played, he would go and kick over the pylon. And so they showed a video of him doing the pregame routine. for the Colorado college team now, and he just goes over there and just kicks it like he's a bad 6-year-old and doesn't pick it up. And I'm just like, that is a terrible.
That sounds like one of my children.
That sounds just like very rude. And I'm like, you're in your 50s, I would think.
They showed the John Henderson slap last night on Manningcast. Remember big old John Henderson, the big D tackle there for the Jags?
Yeah.
And the pregame slap, Eli and Peyton had a good laugh at that.
No, I'm good on that.
Any of these kickers? Michael Badgley, ex-Colt. Rodrigo Blankenship. Now, where was he? CFL, UFL?
UFL.
And he kicked,
St. Louis Battlehawks.
and he kicked well, correct?
Yes, now he's doing like trick shots on social media, apparently.
Oh, no. See?
You're out now?
I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
Recently with the Falcons. I don't know what the Bills' situation is. Matt Prater's kicked very well for them. I don't believe Tyler Bass, their normal kicker, is supposed to be back, next week or so. And I guess just to answer the million questions, I don't think the Irsay daughters would be signing off on Justin Tucker. But yes,
that doesn't even line up from a standpoint of like they need him now.
Suspended through week 10. It is week 6. So we'll see. I think Joel brings up a decent point about, and the Giants did this last week with Younghoe Koo, the former Falcons kicker. I can't pronounce the last name of the dude who they ended up bringing up. But they've had 2 kickers on their practice squad. And remember, you get these 3 practice squad elevations within a season for players. So you could put 2 guys on your practice squad, have them, I guess, kick against each other during the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then call up one of them, sign one of them to your 53-man roster. So, again, sounds like kicker tryouts today for the Colts after the announcement yesterday. ACL and MCL. Just awful for Spencer Shrader.
One quick text here, too, coming from Chris at 239-1070 says, hell no, I'd rather have Tyler Warren kick than Blankenship.
Yeah, people, I don't think there's universal love for Hot Rod. Thought he was too into his Legos, I believe.
The problem is your options are limited. Like, that's just the reality of it. If you're a free agent kicker, you're available for a reason. Like, there's a reason why you're still on the offer roster heading into week 6.
All right, let's check it down, Mark Dykton, and get some info going here. We'll start with playoff baseball. Dodgers beat the Phillies last night by a score of 4-3 to take a 2-0 lead there. Blake Snell, 6 innings of shutout baseball, just 1 hit allowed, 9 strikeouts. That Dodgers team is going to be tough to beat, Mark Dykton. They are rolling.
Talk about the 27th out and Tommy Edman looking like a dinosaur throwing that ball to first base.
It's a great wheel defensive play, though.
Oh, my gosh. Freddie Freeman backhands
the one before that was, yeah.
Can you imagine if they would have tied the game on that?
Freddie Freeman was a hero. Made a great play. Backhanded grab on his knees. Looked good.
For everybody sick of the Dodgers, I would blame the Reds because they didn't offer them any challenge, so they just let the Dodgers get hot, and now they're just cruising through the Phillies all of a sudden.
Stop. Now you're just looking for excuses here.
No, I'm just saying. I don't want to see the Dodgers in the NLCS or the World Series, and it's looking like they're going to at least get to the next round, unfortunately.
Brewers beat the Cubs by a score of 7-3 last night to take a 2-0 advantage in that series. Andrew Vaughn, Jackson Chario had 3-run home runs. And the long ball, William Contreras also got one. The long ball is what killed the Cubs last night.
Long ball with 2 outs. Yeah, that was not ideal. So not great. Go back to Wrigley, try to salvage a win or 2 and see if we can extend the series. But, yeah, timely pitching and hitting has not been there for the Cubs, but I will take a season with playoff baseball rather than a season that has no postseason.
All right.
Which I'm accustomed to as a Cubs fan. Usually there's no postseason, so I'll take it.
American League gets the spotlight tonight. Mariners and Tigers all tied up at 1 game apiece, play at 4:08 this afternoon. And the late game, 8:08, features the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Yankees. That series, headed by the Jays, they lead 2-0. They just scored double-digit runs in every game in that series so far. They're just killing the Yankees pitch.
Destroying the Yankees.
All right. Last night, Monday Night Football, Jacksonville rallies from a 14-0 first-half lead and then from a 28-24 deficit near the end of the game to beat the Kansas City Chiefs 31-28. Trevor Lawrence fell down twice on his game-winning touchdown run, and the Chiefs were not able to get to him. That was crazy last night, Kevin.
I thought Trevor Lawrence made a ton of plays with his legs last night. That was not I know he has that in him, but not something that you typically see. It was a great Monday night game for those that watched it. So many, Lawrence trying to go over the goal line and boom, Nick Bolton forces that fumble. You had the 99-yard pick six. You had Travis Hunter making plays. The Lawrence throw to Brian Thomas Jr. there on the final drive, 3rd and 7. That was big time, big time. And just as we all thought on October 7th, the Colts and the Jags are in the playoffs, and the Chiefs and the Ravens are not.
Next week, it'll be the Colts hosting the Arizona Cardinals. That one will start at 1 o'clock, Lucas Oil Stadium. You'll hear all the coverage beginning with the Ride to Kickoff with JMV, 9 o'clock over at Bullseye Events Center as they continue to move through the first part of the season.
We do owe an A.D. Mitchell catch counter. We teased that in the last break, and we didn't get to it.
Gotta
so
get that.
After the last game against the Raiders, A.D. Mitchell had, let's see how many. There's 0. We're still at 7.
All right.
So he needs to average 6.08 receptions per game to reach that 80 mark threshold.
Not looking likely at
Can
this
that
point
voice
in time.
say 0?
I don't think so. I had to count to 1 to 10. So, I mean, right now we're in the wheelhouse here. We're going to anywhere past 10.
We
we're going to be
might
in
just
trouble.
need the 0, the individual game updates. We might need it.
That's the buzzer.
Okay.
That's
All
0.
right. That works.
Talent's there, but he's probably back in the doghouse for a while and digging out. Here's the thing, though. You talk about game of inches. If he continues on and makes that play and then doesn't have a holding call, which is A.D. Mitchell in a nutshell, that cost him another touchdown, does he earn himself more opportunities if he just makes that one play?
Jeff's in the grave with the shovel just going deeper.
Yeah, I feel like, Mark,
here
you
we
should
go.
get the
Let me double
Kanye
down on
West
this, triple
No,
down.
and the only reason I bring
audio
that
ready,
up
the right
is
audio. Of
I
the,
really thought,
I guess we'll never know.
I really thought as the season went along that he would carve out a bigger and bigger role this year, and that just it's not happening. Not going to happen, probably. All right, college football this
Sounds
coming
like me in
weekend.
high school. If I just did a couple things differently, I could have the hottest girl in school.
Yeah, but he can do things that nobody else can do.
One
is the
more
crazy part.
bench press rep, Mark. Just
Yep.
one
Yes.
more. Uh-huh.
Wear that pop
She'll talk
collar
to
one
me.
more time.
She won't talk to him. She'll talk to me.
Pop the collar, get the hair going.
Hey, the pop collar is showing the age. That's hilarious.
I got to marry the greatest one in the
Michael
world because I
Jordan cologne
refused
or
to
the
say,
Hugo
why not
Boss
me?
cologne here for the dance.
The double
what
pop
should I go
collar
with?
was the biggest douche move of all time, by the way. That was just a total
This is devolved.
whack
Have you noticed this, James?
trend.
Boy, I could not endorse
I'm
that more.
just picturing Mark with a pop collar. Coolest man in school.
What's up, ladies? You guys going to math? Me too.
Now he's got the Jim
Bosco
McMahon
sticks for lunch. You want to
headband
hang
on
out?
his Twitter avatar.
I could go for some Bosco sticks right now.
Bosco sticks slap still to this day.
Wash him down with some Mondo. You'll be good.
You got a full cooler of them. Did you guys already finish all
Still
those?
have a couple.
Look at that.
Yeah. Still, thank you, Mark, for that.
All right, top 10 action coming up this weekend. Indiana, number 7 in the country, will take on number 3 Oregon in Eugene. That's a 3:30 kickoff start on Saturday afternoon. Saturday night, Purdue is on the road as well. They will play at Minnesota, and number 16 Notre Dame, rising back through the ranks, Kevin, taking on North Carolina State.
Money coming in on IU, right? A lot of it.
Starting to. What is a 7.5-point spread
I think
for
it
Oregon
opened
right now?
north of 10 and now has already been, hovered right around a touchdown there. So some early money on Kurt Signetti's Hoosiers. Fernando Mendoza has played in Autzen before, so it didn't go well. I mean, granted, a little different support at Indiana than it was at Cal, but he has played in that stadium, so we'll see if that impacts him positively at all coming up on Saturday.
Also, Butler Ball. If you want to go watch some football Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock, they'll play Presbyterian up there on campus. Meanwhile, the Indiana Pacers start their preseason action tonight. They will have an 8 p.m. tip-off in Minnesota against the Timberwolves. 7:30 airtime here at 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan, looking to see what kind of center rotation we have going on. Maybe Isaiah Jackson gets the start, but also looking to see what the kind of rearranged guard play looks like throughout the first 2 quarters tonight.
Yeah, when it comes to the center position, I know Rick Carlisle has been saying the center by committee, but when it comes down to starter, I just look at salary. They're paying Isaiah Jackson a lot more than the other guys, so I would assume that gives him an opportunity to go out there and start.
All right, we'll look forward to hearing that tonight. Mark Boyle will have the play-by-play for us beginning again at 8 p.m. this evening. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we head on here?
I'll hit on the Mark Sanchez update from yesterday. He had an additional charge added to the incident that occurred over the weekend, and now he's been charged with a felony for serious bodily injury. It's a battery with a punishment of 1 to 6 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. And we got a statement from his older brother, Nick, through their crisis manager, Andrew Bork. And Nick says, "This has been a deeply distressing time for everyone involved. Mark and our family are incredibly grateful for the concern, love, and support we've received over the past few days. Mark remains under medical care for the serious injuries he sustained and is focused on his recovery as the legal process continues. We would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to the first responders and medical staff. A couple things to keep in mind. Number one, it sounds like from Ryan Mears, the Marion County prosecutor, that they have video footage of whatever took place, and that is why they were able to charge and upgrade the charges to Mark Sanchez. And then following up from that, another thing to keep in mind is, age is a factor, I guess, in this crime, or can be a factor in this crime, considering the guy is 69. They said when it comes to sentencing and, the judge's decision, that will certainly be something that they consider. And then also self-defense. From what Ryan Mears told us yesterday, Indiana has some of the most robust self-defense laws in the country. And he put it like this: you have, quote, no duty to retreat if you are in the Hoosier state. So, even if Sanchez is the aggressor and the other guy defends himself and goes after him, it sounds like he's in a world of trouble when it comes to trying to fight this or, get off of this, whatever happened. So he pleaded not guilty to all charges, but something to keep in mind. And then lastly, the man is suing Fox and Sanchez. They're suing Fox for battery and, again, serious bodily harm, and they're suing Fox for basically being negligent in hiring someone who he believes and that family believes was unhinged.
Court date pushed back, right?
Yes, to November 4th. So there's that. I was on court duty yesterday.
Did your phone like mind blow up from all the people you know from around the country yesterday? Like, hey, what in the heck is going on there? Yesterday?
Nah. The phone was used for people who would actually give me real information about what was going on. But yeah, it's certainly a story that just keeps having more and more trickle out.
Yeah. We'll keep an eye on it as it develops, as they like to say. Coming up in a minute, we get back to talking about the Colts and Cardinals. That one's coming up after an off day for the players today. They'll get back to work tomorrow. What can we start to look ahead and see with that game? That's next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. This might be my favorite Queen song, Mark Dykton. How about that?
It's a solid one. Solid option.
It's just heading towards the stars for the Indianapolis Colts right now. I was just reading an article during the break there on CBS Sports, giving all the teams' grades from this past week, and the writer said, crazy to think this, but the Colts might be, James Boyd, one of the 3 best teams in the AFC. They're playing well in all 3 phases of the game. We saw that on display against the Raiders this past week. Maybe they really are one of the top teams in the AFC when it's all said and done.
Yeah, they might be. And I think that is the conversation as this season continues, is how for real are the Colts. And again, you can point to the level of competition because the 3 blowout wins they've had, those 3 opponents are combined 3-12 through the first 5 weeks of the season. But to Zaire Franklin's point that he made after Sunday's game, we're going to play to our standard, and if other teams don't meet that, then you'll see the result that you get. So very interesting to see how the Colts kind of handle being in this position because they haven't been 4-1 in such a long time, and they really haven't been playing with the lead, so to speak, when it comes to winning the division, making the playoffs, things of that nature. So it will be, in my opinion, very important for this team to sort of stack some more wins. And they don't really have, in my opinion, a ton of huge tests, coming up when it comes to the Cardinals and the Titans over the next 3 weeks. But that Chargers game in LA is one I'm looking at for sure.
I was watching the game last night, thought to myself, James, when's the next time the Colts will be an underdog?
I would think LA, right?
The Chargers are now down their 2 tackles. Omarion Hampton goes on injured reserve yesterday. Both their starting running backs. I could see that game being very close to a pick-em. I don't know. Maybe the Chargers are a slight favorite, but like outright underdog, nothing till at Kansas City, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and I was going to see Kansas City keep playing like this. We're going to see.
Right,
but,
I know. I mean, and I don't know what Pittsburgh will be like whenever that is. I think end of the month, maybe start of November there.
I was going to say Steelers is the only one I could think just because it's at Hines. So,
but you're not going to be like
it's not going to be it's not going to be over a field goal.
The Rams, you're what, 4.5, 3.5? Like it's not going to be that type of underdog for quite some time. Now, again, I do think the schedule is really backloaded. I think when you look at what is there after the bye week, whether it's at Kansas City, you got both the Jacksonville games, at Seattle, San Francisco, can they finally be healthy by the time that game rolls around on Monday Night Football? What are the Texans when we get to the back half of the season as well? So, this was a really, really front-loaded schedule, and I do think it's played out that way as well.
Well, it's certainly a fun team to watch, and I keep saying that word fun, but I can't think of, entertaining, fun, joyous almost. This is a team right now that scored 40 points on 2 or more occasions, and they've allowed less than 10 points on 2 or more occasions. And we're talking about the Indianapolis Colts, and we haven't seen a lot of that in the last 8 years or so, James.
No, we have not. We're talking about an offense that is operating at a rate that's probably better than some of the Peyton Manning offenses of yesteryear through the first 5 weeks of the season. Daniel Jones continues to play at a near MVP level. Jonathan Taylor is probably the best version that he's ever been. You look at his game Sunday, I'm like, if you're the Raiders, you're thinking, yes, we held him to 66 yards, season low. Crap, he scored 3 touchdowns. I mean, that is what they're doing to teams, and the balance of the offense in particular, Kevin, is really what stands out to me is that, I want to, every week I kind of want to like put it on one guy or one part of the offense. Oh my gosh, man, Daniel Jones is carrying this team. Jonathan Taylor is carrying this team. That's not really how it is. It's kind of a cliche, but they really are doing this together. And it feels like every week you got those 2 guys playing at an elite level. And then, you just take your pick when it comes to the pass catchers. And shout out to Tyler Warren, who, again, he is one of the best tight ends in the NFL, not just for rookies, but just in general. That's the level he's playing at, and he's been a huge addition. And as I said, probably a couple games into the year, I believe he really is their number 1 passing target, and I think he affects so much within the game for them that, I know Shane Steichen just loves having him around.
Well, and I have not done a good enough job of this, but to me, when you talk about the offense, where to give credit to, I think you have to go to the offensive line. I mean, they're, in particularly pass protection.
Yeah.
I mean,
they gave them 2 young guys
that they have done replacing 2 starters is extraordinary. And they have been healthy for 4 of the 5 games. And when you look at it, the one game that Matt Gonzalez was out was the one game we saw the most pressure. That was the Rams. Just outstanding. The job they did on Max Crosby yesterday. I don't even feel like Daniel Jones is getting hit that much, let alone sacks or negative plays. So, this is back so far. And I know the run game had a little bit of an overall regression maybe on Sunday, but through 5 weeks, this is playing like a top 5 offensive line. And I think we hadn't seen that for a couple of years. And that's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, differences for Daniel Jones from New York. Not that he had overwhelming skill talent with the Giants by any means, but having clean pockets, operating from clean pockets, having the confidence that it is going to be, pretty firm up there for me, and I'm going to have time to work my reads and step into throws and all of that. That really wasn't seen for him in New York. So I know it's not the sexiest thing to do, but just shout out to the offensive line. It's probably the area where I have failed the most in just like complimenting aspects to this football team, in particular, pass protection.
All right, coming up in a moment, we'll talk some Indiana Patriots going tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Preseason is already here. That was a quick offseason, no question about that. We'll take some of your texts as well. We'll get into some of that at 239-1070 coming up in a minute as we continue 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good Tuesday morning. James Boyd, Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton, Jeff Rickard with you here on a Tuesday morning. And one of the things to wrap up our conversation a moment ago with the Colts, my favorite stat of all time, points for and points against. There's only one other team in the NFL, James Boyd, that scored more points than the Indianapolis Colts so far this year. And there's only 3 other teams that have allowed less points than the Colts so far. It's amazing through 5 games with this team.
Yeah, I mean, they are rolling right now. And to Joel A. Erickson's point earlier, if you picked them to be this good this early in the season, you should have played the lottery, because I certainly was not in that camp.
Well, they have been playing very well, and we'll see if that continues this week against the Arizona Cardinals. And I mentioned a moment ago, the Pacers get going again tonight, first preseason game. You've got the Plot Rickens T-shirt on again today, so I know we're good to go.
Plot Rickens, hoping that, and I think Rick Carlisle will start his Tuesdays with us coming up here as we get closer to the regular season. 2 weeks from Thursday, that is their regular season.
I'm already sweating over what questions he's going to dunk on me over.
Tuesday at 8. I chatted briefly with him yesterday at practice. I don't know if you guys saw this. He's actually going to UVA to his daughter's formal coming up, I believe a week from Saturday. So Lloyd Pierce will actually coach them in their final preseason
This
game.
is when I have to put in my TikTok request. I told you I met his daughter and his wife once. They were leaving the Pacers facility one day. He rolls down the window. He was like, "Hey, James, he met my wife and my daughter." And I'm like, "Rick, you know I have not met them before." And so I think I told her at the time, I was like, "Hey, your dad's awesome. He's really, nice to us. But I have one thing." I was like, if they get to the playoffs, we need to see the TikTok that we saw back in the day, the OG video. And Rick is not obliged. And so now I need the Pacers to win a championship, because if they win a championship, we got to get Rick TikToking.
I believe he told me his daughter was part of the field storm of UVA Florida State.
Wow, yeah.
From a couple weeks back. So yeah, tonight, 8 o'clock, Minnesota. If you want to look at last year's preseason opener, the Pacers played their starters for the most part in that first half, like around 15, 16 minutes. So you should get some starter run tonight. And this is a little different than in years past. Obviously, we'll carry it on our airwaves. But we will get the TV broadcast of this on FanDuel. So however you watched Pacer games last year, you dial that up tonight. You won't have Chris and Quinn. They are back for Chris Teneri back for a 20th year. Same crew, Jeremiah Johnson, Eddie Gill and company. But you'll have the Minnesota crew. Not Michael Grady, but you'll have their radio crew on the call for tonight. So I don't know if I'm fully ready for basketball, but I found myself like driving in this morning like, oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that tonight. And maybe it's the newness of like Nemhard's now being asked to do different things. Matherin's being asked to do different things. Siakam even more on his plate. What do these centers look like? Furphy, Walker. I'm looking forward to tonight.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm just excited to see how Rick manages this new rotation of centers, this kind of new rotation of guards and what they do. I think we have a pretty good idea based on what we saw last year how things are going to go. But again, who's Benedict Mathurin going to be this year as he steps into an even bigger role? Questions like that. How's Nemhard going to do when he doesn't have as much opportunity to defend the ball? He's got to be more concerned with getting the ball up the floor and getting the team into the offense. All kinds of things like that. It's going to be fun to watch.
Most intriguing Pacers player this season, not named Andrew Nemhard or Benedict Mathurin.
I think Jarris Walker.
Yeah, Walker
okay.
was one of the
That's a good
first names I thought of. I mean, all of this internal hype about Furphy, and not just the dunk. By the way, did you see the dunk on Jay Huff the other day,
Yeah.
too?
Yeah, I was thinking, all you people saying Miles Turner, I'm like, hold on for a second, But no, I thought Jay Huff was actually a good sport about it afterwards. I only caught the end there,
Yeah,
Kevin, where he was giving them a little golf clap.
Right, yeah. Baptized Jay Huff. Welcome to Indy, Jay Huff, the man down under, welcoming you here to Indy. And some of those centers, like, honestly, James Wiseman, the second
I like that
overall pick.
I like that pick.
He went to one of the least tanking franchises you could imagine, the Warriors situation, having the second overall pick. And then he now comes here and plays, 5 minutes before he tore his Achilles?
Yeah.
I mean, how old is he? There's no way he can be over 24 or something like that. He's still very young. What is he as a center? And, Rick even, I think, said to us, James, when we had him on about a month ago.
He's 24. You were dead on.
24, yeah. And Rick said to us like a month ago, like he was way ahead from the Achilles rehab. Was already doing, I think, 5-on-5 stuff and dunking and all that athleticism. So I am curious about him as well. And I caught the clip. I know it's kind of going around social media yesterday. I caught the clip of Zach Lowe and John Hollinger. They were doing some of their, team look-arounds for the NBA season. And when they got to the Pacers, they both stated their over-under of 37.5 wins to be way too high.
Wow.
And look, I'm biased. I'm coming from a human being that has made, the kids are going to be, settling into college quite well. Thank you to the Pacer over-under bets that have served me well over the last, I think it's now 4 years. I look at 37.5, maybe it's 38.5, and I think to myself, I would be stunned if the Pacers lost or didn't reach that total. And I'm not even trying to wear the hat of the local market team here. Am I the only one? Are you guys thinking they could not reach 38.5 wins?
I still think they're 41-41, right around 500. I really do.
So you like the over, James?
Yep.
Are you?
I do like the over as well.
I mean, I guess maybe you're one injury away from.
I think that's my only
Siakam or Nembhard.
Yeah, that's my only pushback. And we did see that Siakam kind of got wore down at one point last year,
right?
And they had to kind of just sit him and rest him and try to get him ready for the playoffs. But I do think if they're able to stay relatively healthy, meaning their top guys are available in a wide open East, I don't see them, not getting to at least 40 wins.
And
they're going to get 5 wins just by scrapping and clawing and fighting.
Right.
And wearing other teams down.
That is going nowhere. You could make an argument defensively. I get they're losing the rim protection of Miles. They might be a little bit better on the perimeter.
Yeah.
Defensively. And I don't think they're in the some NBA teams are in the camp of at the first sign of injury, at the first sign of losing streak, here's the white flag. Hello, AJ DeBanza. Hello, Boozer from Duke. Hello, Lauder.
I was going to say, I'd tell you, I'd welcome any of those guys to Indianapolis.
But the Pacers aren't waving that flag as quickly as other teams are. And who knows? Maybe at some point this season, it would, I think, have to really derail for them to kind of go down where they went down the Mathurin year, maybe even a little bit of the Walker year, when it was oh yeah, Malcolm Brogdon is hurt again. Or, Tyrese Halliburton, you're not going to go back out there this season. I don't think they're very quickly going to, go down that path. So that's another reason why I look at 38.5 and think I like the over.
I like it too. We're going to answer a bunch of questions from the text line about the Colts coming up in just a moment. They get ready to take on the Cardinals this Sunday. 239-1070. You want to get in on that. We've had some stacking up throughout the day. We'll get to some of that as we continue next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Good morning and welcome into the Fan Morning Show. As the man just said there, James Boyd, you're grooving to this one too. Kevin Bowen getting ready for another big day today, and the Colts getting ready for a big week. They're going to have to find themselves a kicker later on today, and then they get ready for an NFC matchup against the Arizona Cardinals coming up on Sunday. We'll find out more about injuries and things tomorrow, but we do know for sure, Kevin Bowen, a kicker must be found and found soon for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, and I thought Joel Erickson brought up a good point a little bit earlier. And first, I guess we should mention ACL and MCL tears in the right kicking leg of Spencer Shrader. So you just feel awful for him, especially I don't know, James. I probably should have asked Shane Steichen. Did he think that play was dirty at all? Maybe letter of the law. Maybe it was kind of bang bang. It rubbed me the wrong way that you just had their punter go out and. It felt a little bit over the edge, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just reacting to the injury itself. And if Spencer Shrader pops up, maybe I'm not reacting.
Yeah, I mean, Zaire Franklin told that line after the game. He's always got an edge, but he mentioned that he wouldn't really go there, but you could tell he was distraught over the fact that his teammate got hit. I think the frustration for the Colts is this wasn't a normal bang into the kicker type of play because he didn't run into him while he was still kicking.
Right.
His foot had returned back to the ground, so you're nowhere close to blocking it. And so from that aspect, I could see if you are a teammate of Spencer Shrader or if you're Spencer himself, you're thinking, man, like you couldn't pull up just a little bit, like you really had to go for that. I mean, he already made the kick.
Yeah.
So just a bad play, and I would expect probably some sort of fine to come out. I know the NFL they announce all the fines for the previous week on the following Saturday. So for week 5, this upcoming Saturday, we will find out if anybody was fined for their actions. And so that Raiders safety, Tristan McCollum, he could be looking at giving away some money there.
Yeah, I thought Joel again brought up a good point earlier of, we have seen some NFL teams. I think the Giants did it here just a week or two ago where they actually bring 2 kickers into the building. You have these 16-man practice squad, so you have plenty of spots available. Do you have a 5-person tryout today, for example, narrow it down to 2, then let those 2 kind of compete for the next couple of days, and then when you get to the end of the week, you bring one of them up to your 53-man roster. That guy kicks for you on Sunday. Or do you say, you know what? No. We want to really drill Luke Rhodes, Rigoberto Sanchez, and whoever the kicker is as many reps as possible. We want them to be as clean of an operation as possible for Sunday. You could go down that path here. But, again, Brian Mason, their special teams coordinator, they've had this philosophy where at kicker, they've opted for some college guys that maybe don't have the greatest percentage, but they feel like there's some potential there. They feel like, again, they can clean up some of the operational stuff and they can become pretty good kickers. Spencer Shrader kind of had that resume in college. Are you afforded that same opportunity in October? Probably not. So, do you just opt for, hey, who's the guy that's kicked the most? Who's the guy that's been most accurate? So, again, expect some kicker news items today for the Colts, and then we'll see exactly how they plan to handle it the rest of the week as it is Colts and Cardinals. And if you think kickers don't matter in the NFL, just ask the Arizona Cardinals. All 5 of their games by 1 score. I believe the last 3 weeks, all losses, they have lost on game-winning field goals at the buzzer. So that tells you everything you need to know about how much kicking can matter in the NFL.
And Shane Spencer had been terrific, as we've been pointing out.
Spencer Shrader.
What did I say, Shane? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking about Shane. I was going to get ahead of myself. Shane Steichen. ESPN puts out these quarter-season awards. Again, way too early, but it's just dotted with Colts everywhere. He's just not used to seeing that. Shane Steichen right now, they list him as second favorite for Coach of the Year at this point in time. They like Dan Campbell, number 1, and Tyler Warren, the Offensive Rookie of the Year so far. I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. Daniel Jones, they have listed second as the first quarter MVP.
I throw the Tampa Bay wide receiver in there.
Ibuka?
Yeah, he's balling too. I feel like it's a 2-horse race between those 2 so far.
He was second, continue. I believe, yeah. But my point is, just not used to seeing Colts all over these things here.
Nah, I mean, didn't we have a list coming into the year of Shane Steichen being like on the most likely to get fired?
Yeah, he was like 2 or 3 on that list.
Yeah, and so now
Brian Daboll was 1, Mike McDaniel 2, and I think Steichen was 3.
I tell you what, quarterback play changes a lot for teams, and it starts with that. But I think from that, you've seen just some of the defensive changes, being a little more aggressive there. And really, as much as I want to still, pick at some of the defensive issues I've seen, I think the linebacker spot next to Zaire Franklin is still very interesting. And to be, I guess politically correct, but I could just say right now, it's not good. I don't feel good about the spot next to Zaire. However, considering the amount of injuries they've had to their secondary and kind of how Lou Anarumo's had to toggle with the lineup, I mean, hats off to him for still managing to have 8 takeaways through the first 5 weeks of the season with this unit.
I'm just curious. I know they're bringing in kickers today. Like, under the radar, are there any linebackers coming in to work out or anything like that?
They have brought some late last week. They brought in a handful of corners late in the week. Yesterday they brought in a corner and a safety. So they have done the linebacker thing a little, not as much. It seems like a little bit more DB centric, specifically corner. Lately, last week was a lot of undrafted guys. Yesterday they did bring in Kendall Fuller, who has got a ton of starts in his NFL career. Now
over 100.
He falls in the 30-year-old corner situation here. No Lou Anarumo connection for those curious out there. If that's the only thing that they're bringing in. I did want to shift gears a little bit, go back to the O-line for a second, because James, you had asked Shane Steichen about this yesterday, and I remember when Jonathan Taylor scored on Sunday, I was saying to Mike Chappell, who I sit next to in the press box, and I jotted it down. I go, is there anything an NFL player, and like saying an NFL player fears anything is probably a ludicrous statement, but is there anything an NFL defender fears more than seeing a pulling Quentin Nelson coming at them?
I can't imagine.
And for those who don't understand, can you explain what pulling is?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's, when the left guard is now pulling to the right side, or the right guard or right tackle is pulling to the left side, and they're getting a little bit of a head of steam, and they are.
So they're leading the convoy, basically.
Sure.
They're coming to open a hole.
Yeah. Or clear the way.
Clear it out, yeah.
And Nelson has been.
I'm just laughing because, Jeff, the way we started this show today, he's already grinning. He got you.
That's all right.
But continue.
Nelson has been so good at that in his career. He's that athletic. He's that powerful, et cetera, et cetera. And Shane Steichen said yesterday that as a play caller, he treats Quentin Nelson as a skill player. And I found that like a really unique way to describe an offensive lineman. And by that, he meant this. On the call sheet, you will have play callers that literally have sections of the call sheet for specific players. Hey, these are our Tyler Warren plays. Hey, these are our, Nico Collins plays. These are our Travis Hunter plays. And as Shane started to explain it, it made sense. Like, yeah, in short yardage, I would think you would have some very specific, hey, we need Quentin Nelson as a skill player here. And again, just because he's not touching the ball doesn't mean that the description doesn't make sense. And if you look at the Colts' success rate with Nelson polling, I would venture to guess it's pretty darn good. And of course, knowing Shane Steichen, now the question becomes, what wrinkles do you have off of that? Yes, Jonathan Taylor running behind Quentin Nelson is a very successful play. But like you've seen with Tyler Warren, what's next? Is it the fake Nelson is polling? You fake it to Taylor, and now you're bootlegging it around. And let's say Nelson's pulling from the left side to the right side. Well, what if Tyler Warren's lined up as that right tight end, and now he's dragging over to the left side? And all these defenders get sucked into watching Quentin Nelson as the puller, and they forget about a tight end. And with Warren, we saw it again Sunday. Again, the Colts' run game on Sunday kind of struggled. Taylor's day wasn't great outside of obviously he scored all the touchdowns, but his yards per carry wasn't a huge number. But you saw Taylor's biggest run on Sunday was a fake fullback dive to Tyler Warren. This is all Shane Steichen's mastery as a play caller. You throw that in the playbook early in the season. They're not expecting Warren to dive it. Boom. He converts it. All right. The next team shows up on the schedule. They start watching film. They say, oh, wow, Tyler Warren is a fullback. Wow, he might dive it, or they might, run that little sail route that they ran with him. Nope. What do? They fake it to Warren. The defense, again, is sucked into the middle of the play. Next thing you know, you pitch it to Taylor, and he rips it for 16 yards. That is what this offense is doing right now. But I thought his Nelson comment, James, to your question, I thought was really, really interesting from Shane of like, no. We treat him like a skill player. I'm like, yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense, even though he's not touching the ball.
I know. I look forward to following up with Quentin Nelson this week and getting absolutely no response or no love for himself in his answers, because that man never wants to talk about himself. But as Jonathan Taylor was telling me when he was walking out of the locker room, was actually me and Stephen Holder on Sunday, we brought up Quentin Nelson, and again, him pulling and paving the way, and he was like, just follow 56. And he was like, it's a Hall of Famer, you know. And I was like, yeah. I was like, you too. And he was like, well, I got more work to do, you know. But that guy, he's like, he's going to Canton.
Well, and the other thing they did on that play, too, I'm pretty sure it was that same play, they brought in Jalen Travis, the biggest player on the football team, as
he is
as a tackle eligible. So he was extra tight end, the rookie out of Iowa State. He might be the biggest player ever to put on a Colts uniform. 6'8", 3, I don't know what he's officially listed as, north of 330, I would guess. And he mauled Max Crosby on one of those plays on the goal line there. So, again, there are a lot of things right now that you would say Shane Steichen is in his bag. And really the offensive line. And Nelson, I know Braden Smith had a little struggle at the start of yesterday, or the start of Sunday, but he played very good the rest of the game. You know, Nelson and Braden Smith, both of them, you know, yes, they're not the two new offensive linemen in Tanner Bornolini and Matt Gonzalez, but I think both of them are getting back to their levels of play. Nelson, one of the best guards, obviously, in the entire league, and I think Braden Smith has had a nice season as well.
All right, let's go to the text line, 239-1070. You've got some things on your mind. Kevin kind of addressing a couple of people wanting to know about Quentin Nelson and what he's meant so far. But Sam from Newcastle just wants to know, is this fool's gold? Even though we're watching it, it's still hard to believe. People just haven't quite accepted that this Colts team might be really good, James.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with strength of schedule and the opponents you've played so far. The one, I would argue, great opponent you've faced in the Rams, you lost to. But in that same game, you had so many self-inflicted, wounds, one of them being the big A.D. Mitchell blunder. So if people do not want to believe in the Colts and they're still hesitant, I think that's warranted to a degree because of, how many scars you develop over the last few years. But if you want to look at it in a vacuum, this team does not look, feel, or act like what we've seen from the past. I mean, they have the 320-point wins this season, most of any team in the NFL. So when you look at strength of schedule, yeah, it might not have been that great so far, but what do you do to bad teams? You beat them down. And so I think that's something very interesting for this group. And actually, we keep getting this in the text line too, and we've got it in the YouTube chat. And I know you were all over this, Kevin. The penalty that took place on the Spencer Shrader extra point, and then afterwards kicking it out and still getting it at the 25-yard line. Were we ever able to kind of understand what happened there?
Yeah, I want to ask Shane that follow-up because my thought was, so the out-of-bounds kick would have gone to the 40.
Right.
And so then if you take, I guess you can then take the 15-yard penalty.
That's my understanding of the rule.
So you move it back to the 25.
So even though you would get penalized at first for kicking it all the way out and going to the 40-yard line.
Correct. They don't offset.
Right. But you still have the right to tack your 15 yards that you gained from the penalty back on there. So I believe that is how that is refereed, but we can definitely follow up with Shane later this week.
And one thing to note, too, we got a couple of these questions, and James, you might have more info on this. Yes, Spencer Shrader was in a kicking competition in camp. Maddox Trio, the undrafted kid out of Temple, did a nice job. He definitely missed more than Shrader. I don't want to act like it was a close competition, but he had some moments. He was waived injured at the end of August.
Yeah.
So I don't know where he is at from a health standpoint. That was a month and a half ago. I would tend to think they would opt for more of a veteran, just based off of you're in season and you don't know where he's at from an injury standpoint. You don't know where he's at just from hey, all of a sudden you're now an NFL kicker. I don't. My guess is they'd go a little bit more veteran route, even if he were to be healthy.
Yeah, I would lean towards that same route myself, just because, you look at where you're at in the season, you're 4-1, and I don't know if you want to hand over, not the keys to your team, but the keys to your special teams unit, knowing that, you might win or lose a game on a kicker that hasn't played in the NFL. That's a lot of stakes there, and unlike throughout the offseason, there is no time to really have a competition. You need a guy who can go out there and perform for you right away. And I guess the good thing and sort of a bad thing and why the kicking market usually is the way it is, kickers, for whatever reason, they kind of come and go. Like in some spots, they can be great. Other teams, they can be not so great. But there's always somebody floating around with some experience, even if they haven't had like the best outing in their last stop, but who knows? The change of scenery with this team might be good for them. So I expect, news on that front, in the next couple of days, and then we'll certainly be looking out for whichever new kickers they might sign come tomorrow when practice is open to the media.
All right, let's go to the phone lines real quick, 239-1070, number to call. Mark, I know we had a little bit of a problem with the phones yesterday. We couldn't get to folks, but we'll try and do a better job with that today.
We're back on track.
I know we had an engineer in here like 10:01 trying to figure out what was going on, but I think we have it now. Good Jimmy is on the line here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning, Jimmy. How you doing this week?
Good morning, gentlemen. Always great to talk to you, and thanks for Mark for putting me on. We already commiserated about the Cubs, and I'm glad I didn't follow Joel Erickson because I'm a very jealous man right now. But I still have faith in my boys, and we're going back to the friendly confines. So let's see what happens. But real quick, before I get to my point, I just wanted to thank you guys at the Fan for always giving me the platform to express how much I love sports and talk to you guys as well. I appreciate you guys' friendships and everything, and thank you for that. My Colts question is, with the Cardinals game coming up, I wanted to ask you guys, do you think that we need to put like a Zaire Franklin or a spy kind of deal on Kyler Murray, or what concerns you guys the most about Kyler Murray and the Cardinals offense? And I'll take your comments off the air. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate it.
Jimmy, the feeling more than mutual. Our show's better because of you, and we thank you. And shout out to his Hurricanes. Big Miami Hurricanes fan. Him and I, Jimmy, we didn't get along week 1 of the college football season, but now I want Miami to win every game. So, Jimmy, I hope you have a great day, and thank you for the call. Yeah, we talked a little bit about Kyler Murray's injury situation in the opening hour. A foot injury. He left very briefly on Sunday against the Titans. Jacoby Brissett is the backup there.
Yeah.
But when he came back, Murray did not run the football one time the rest of the game. 4 drives, not one time. And you would think, as they were trying to close out that game and did not close it out, you would think Kyler Murray's legs would have been used. And Jonathan Gannon mentioned, their head coach, that they kind of had to limit some of the playbooks. So the whole spy debate is a great point Jimmy brings up, but right now, first off, is Kyler Murray going to play? Secondly, is he just confined to the pocket? I think those are 2 major questions for this week and exactly what it looks like. Fewest rushing yards of the season. Again, didn't run it once he got back in the game there in the third quarter. So the Colts could be catching, I think, a huge break here. Even if Kyler plays, just how effective he can be as a runner.
Yeah, and obviously James Conner out for the year at running back, and they thought maybe they were going to split it up between a couple of guys. This past weekend, it looked like DeMercado was going to take control of that, and then he drops the ball at the goal line, a la A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah, I saw Jonathan Gannon, a friend of Shane Steichen and former co-coordinator over there with the Eagles, came out and apologized for how he basically just undressed DeMercado after that fumble and, was yelling at him. Looked like he might have might have hit him in the chest a little bit, not punched him, but like just, very disappointed, very upset in that moment. And he apologized for his actions. But I understand the emotion and the frustration because it is purely dumb. It's selfish and dumb. You want to be cool and celebrate too early and you cost your team a win. So on one hand, yes, I feel for the player. And I think that coaches, and Jonathan said he would be better going forward about how he handled those situations. But from the other side of it, I'm like, yeah, you have every right to tell this guy you are a moron for what you just did.
And he was easing up at about the 20, which would have frustrated me too if I'm Jonathan Gannon. Like, as soon as he started to ease up, I'm like, Jerry Steen might catch him. Like, even if he didn't fumble.
Yeah,
but
he
Jerry
was
Steen
coming
might
to try to,
you at the 2. I want to make sure we mention this. This is from Philo. Thank you for reaching out here. This man reads the NFL rule book. He says the rule on the out-of-bounds kickoff is it's placed 25 yards from where the kick occurred. So they did the 15-yard penalty on the kickoff.
Yeah.
Shrader kicked from Sanchez kicked from the 50. So that is why when the kick is out of bounds, it's 25 yards from there. So
Ethan just called it that same thing too. So
they were a little confused on the broadcast too.
And clearly I was as well. I was sitting there.
I always think like, what if you're the guy you're supposed to know that? Like, what is your job until you just read the rule book and you just look around for weird plays? I'm sure they probably do have someone who looks at all the weird plays in the league from like the week before.
They're supposed to have people that are counting how many people are on the field as well, too. But
Right.
Like I think that's more a little
we
more
found out the hard way.
Yeah, a
That
little
might
more
not always be the
rudimentary
case.
than the kicking rules.
You got the same guy. Can't do basic math, but can do trig.
We can go up to 10, but once you get into double figures, forget
Where's
about it.
Chad?
Double
What's he
digits.
doing?
11. Yeah.
Chad,
They're all double digits.
Are you counting?
Oh, man. All right, let's check it down very quickly. We'll get back to some listener comments and phone calls coming up in a moment, Mark.
Chad, put the churro down. I need you to explain this kickoff rule to me.
Colts and Cardinals, 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon, Lucas Oil Stadium. The drive to kickoff, or the ride to kickoff with JMB, starts at 9 a.m. from the Bullseye Event Center, and we all know it by now, but looking for a kicker today. Not open tryouts, but the Colts bring in several guys today, right?
Yeah, that would be my guess. So we'll see what the news item is. On that, back to practice tomorrow. Do they bring in 2 kickers? Do they bring one off the practice squad? We should mention Grover Stewart, that bicep injury. Sounds like, according to Shane Steichen, they avoided serious with that. He wanted a little bit more medical info before confirming that, but the initial impression sounded like crisis averted there with Grover Stewart.
All right, so we'll look to see what kind of information over the next couple of days we get on Colts injuries. In the meantime, NFL last night, Monday Night Football concluded Week 5. Jacksonville rallied from a 14-0 deficit in the first half, a 28-24 deficit late in the game. On the game-winning touchdown run by Trevor Lawrence, he backs up, falls down, not once, but twice, stumbles to his feet, and finds his way to the end zone for the game-winning touchdown, James. It was crazy.
Yeah, I believe after the game he was asked about the play and what went through his mind. He said sheer panic and then probably sheer joy after knocking off the Chiefs.
Chiefs now 2-3 on the season, and the Jacksonville Jaguars tied atop the AFC South with the Colts. Both teams are now 4-1. Minnesota Timberwolves will host the Indiana Pacers tonight in the first preseason game of the year for Indy. For at least the Pacers at 7:30 is the airtime tonight, 8 o'clock. The tip time, and we're looking to see kind of what the center rotation looks like right out of the gate tonight. Looks probably Isaiah Jackson to start with, but who knows after that?
Yeah, that would be my guess. Fan Jam and Rick Carlisle, for what it's worth, he didn't want to put too much stock into what happened Sunday at Fan Jam. He didn't sound overly pleased with his team's effort on Sunday in what
That's so Rick.
In what is, to be fair, a little bit of a different environment than a game setting. So I think he's looking forward to finally playing another team and playing a good team. In Minnesota, of course, a conference finalist from last year. But yeah, Isaiah Jackson was with the starting unit on Sunday, and so I assume he will start tonight. But Jay Huff, James Wiseman, Tony Bradley, they got options. We'll see how it all plays out over these 4 preseason games.
All right. Major League Baseball coming up later this afternoon. Seattle Mariners, Detroit Tigers will play at 4:08. That series tied at 1 in the best-of-5 divisional series there. Toronto Blue Jays lead the Yankees 2-0. That'll be your nightcap at 8:08 tonight. Both those games going to be on Fox Sports 1. Yesterday, the Milwaukee Brewers outslugged the Cubs 7-3, the final score in that one, to take a 2-0 advantage there. The Dodgers go up 2-0 against the Phillies with a 4-3 win of their own. So anything else you want to throw in for baseball right now, Mark?
I think you covered it.
All right. Just checking to make sure. Anything else you boys want to talk about before we head on to break here?
Shame Mark isn't a little bit more.
He's very quiet this morning when it comes to baseball. All morning long, just quiet. Trying to probe you. Full-throated.
What? What happened there?
Oh, man.
Call it a little pissy from Mark Dykes here on
Just a little bit.
Tuesday.
Again, you know how many baseball seasons I've sat through where there's no playoffs? So we made it. That's fine. But you're also playing the Brewers and not getting timely hitting and pitching. So what are you going to do? Get it back to Wrigley. Let's push it to Game 4. Let's make them sweat a little bit. Let's Joel Erickson rub the rabbit's foot a little more. Get him a little nervous.
I didn't love Mark's tone yesterday in reaction to the Game 1 loss. It's a best-of-5 series. This guy's acting like it's one of 162 here, and I think he felt that then.
Says the guy who put on a
I
Cubs
was
shirt
gonna say,
after his
yeah,
Reds
this
got
is real
eliminated.
rich.
Do you want me? Some people are asking. People are saying I need to bring out the Cubs shirt for tomorrow. Would you like support from me again?
No, I don't want that
Do
fake.
you want me to
I don't
sing
want
You
that.
Got a Friend in Me?
I mean, you are a friend, but I don't want that fake, pump
Fake?
up.
What do you mean fake?
Oh, come on. James can see right through that, too.
Yes, I definitely can.
What
As a fellow
It's
fake
translucent.
person
That's how
myself,
see-through it
yeah.
is.
You've got a friend in me.
You're going to get us sued by Randy Newman if you don't stop.
Maybe on the other side, James Boyd, a little update on Mark Sanchez. I believe you were on court duty yesterday.
Yeah, legal duty. I was making sure that I stay employed. I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it. So I definitely got some things for you on the other side.
All right, we'll get the latest on the Mark Sanchez situation next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Good morning and welcome in to the Fan Morning Show. We were talking about just a moment ago what's up with the Mark Sanchez situation, the very latest. He's been charged with a felony count of battery after a string of misdemeanors were originally thrown his way. Yesterday, I know, James, you had to go over to the courthouse just kind of find out what was going on. You saw that press conference. What did you learn? What can you tell us about the Mark Sanchez situation after he had that altercation where apparently he just wouldn't stop coming after a 69-year-old truck driver the other night?
Yeah, so had to go over to the city county building, and the gist of it is
This is all allegedly, by the way.
yes, but the gist of it is that the prosecutor for Marion County, Ryan Mears, said they reviewed all the surveillance footage that they had at their disposal, and they came to the conclusion that, at least allegedly, Sanchez was the aggressor in this incident, and they have a lot of video evidence to back that up. And then based off the injuries to the 69-year-old man who is now suing Mark Sanchez and Fox Sports, that based off of the injuries, they could upgrade the charges to it being felony battery. And then on top of that, a couple factors to consider is the man's age, the victim's age. He's 69, so Ryan Mears, again, the prosecutor said that could be a factor when it comes to sentencing and how the judge sees this case whenever they go to trial. They also mentioned how in the state of Indiana, they have robust self-defense laws. And the phrase that really stuck out to me was the fact that they kept saying there is no duty to retreat, is how Ryan Mears described it, meaning that if someone comes after you and you defend yourself, it's not necessarily your fault to then lay off of them if you injure them, if you hurt them. And so it sounds like, from the way the prosecutor sees it, the victim was in the right to defend himself. And if he didn't stop, after, getting the guy off of him, he can, continue to, defend himself. So that was another factor. And then I would say the last thing is just, where does, Mark Sanchez sort of stand right now? He pleaded not guilty to all charges. I read the statement earlier from his brother, basically just saying, that they're, grateful that he was able to get help in that moment. But, there's a lot of, moving parts to this. And Ryan Mears, again, the prosecutor made it very clear that, this is not the end of the investigation. This isn't just the only charges they could bring. They could bring more. So they have a plethora of evidence, it seems like, from surveillance footage to eyewitness accounts to obviously talking to both parties. And, again, a lot to still unpack. Two questions that he was asked that we got weird answers to. Was Mark Sanchez given a sobriety test on the scene? They just immediately went to, hey, when guys go to the hospital, we'll get medical records and see from there their state of minds, is the phrase that he used. And so that was certainly something to keep in mind.
So that's the very latest on the Mark Sanchez situation. An incident took place late Friday night / early Saturday morning. Just downtown, not too far from the Marriott over there, and was Laughlin's Pub. Is that where he ended up going to knock on the window to try and get help?
I'm not sure where he knocked on the window at, but yeah, it was right over there. So just a bizarre situation, and one where I think he certainly regrets his decisions that occurred.
And just a little bit of background on how NFL weekends work for the broadcast crew. Typically what you have is Chris Myers, Mark Sanchez, Christina Peak, that Fox crew. They typically will fly in on a Friday morning to the city that they are doing the game from. They will then attend that team's Friday practice. So, James, you and I are out there at those Friday practices seemingly every time the Colts have a home game. We get out to practice, and then whatever, a few minutes later, here comes a broadcast team. And, they get to, walk the sidelines and, talk with, Colts people, et cetera, et cetera. And then they have production meetings with those, members, Shane Steichen, Daniel Jones, Zaire Franklin, whoever, whatever, a handful of people at the team facility. So you're there from 11 a.m. to, let's say, 3 p.m. Then you probably go back to wherever you're staying, gather those notes, apply them to whatever preparation you're doing for the game. And then you do that same thing Saturday afternoon when the visiting team arrives. So you never attend a visiting team's practice. Typically you don't during that week. But when that visiting team lands, you then go to their team hotel. So Mark Sanchez would have been in quite the state Saturday afternoon. I'm not here to judge hangovers, but
I would guess at the age of 38, 39, he still would have been feeling a little bit of that Saturday afternoon had he been meeting with the Raiders and Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, et cetera, et cetera. And then obviously Sunday is the game. So that's just a little bit on kind of how these broadcast teams typically go through an NFL weekend.
Yeah, I thought on short notice, stepping right in, I thought Brady Quinn did a nice job. I watched the game on TV this past weekend. But yeah.
And they were at, what was it? Were they at Michigan? Big noon kickoff? Ann Arbor? Is that how he was able to make the
Sounds about right.
quick trip down? I believe that's right. Game day was Alabama Vandy, right?
Yep.
I think big noon kickoff was up there. So, I in all seriousness, I thought Brady Quinn did a really nice job.
Yeah. Just a crazy, crazy story. And we'll keep our eyes and ears on all of it as it progresses through the system at this point in time. And do we know, is he even out of the hospital yet? Is he still there with all those injuries? Do we know?
No, I am not sure where that stands just yet. I mean, according to his brother, Nick, it says, Mark and our family are incredibly grateful for the concern, love, and support we've received over the past few days. Mark remains under medical care for these serious injuries he sustained and is focused on his recovery as the legal process continues. So that's the latest.
All right. Coming up in just a moment, we talk a lot about NIL and its effect on college sports and all these schools that are now getting this influx of money and how it changes the landscape. But that's something that they're dealing with to a certain extent at the high school level as well, and how that all affects our area and region in the nation. We're going to talk about that next with someone who deals with that every single day as we continue on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Welcome into a Tuesday morning. Heading down the stretch here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Jay Query comes your way at noon, and then JMV at 3. Got to go and see him yesterday, spend some time with him out at one of his remotes. He's always on remote. We'll tell you more about that as we get closer and closer to the end of the show. But right now I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about, we love the high school sports scene around here. Obviously, we do all of the state championship football games and men's and women, boys and girls high school basketball games, baseball, softball, you name it. We cover it. We like it. We're a big part of the community, and we appreciate being part of that community. And that's why we welcome in Carissa Nihoff to our Payless Liquors hotline right now. And Carissa, thanks so much for being here from the National Federation of State High School Associations. And just to give people a quick primer on that, you guys help write the rules and regulations of how high school sports works across the country, correct?
That's correct. Thanks for having me, and good morning to everyone. I like how you said we help to write the rules. It makes it sound so positive. We write the rules. We write the rules for 18 sports, and we have 51 member state associations, all 50 states, and then, of course, Washington, D.C. So we have a national impact and do a lot with our learning centers. So we try to be a good resource for everybody out there in the high school space.
Carissa, thank you for the time. I guess more from what falls under your umbrella, what falls under state umbrellas when it, IHSA umbrella is this versus you guys at NFHS. What is different for those two umbrellas?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I appreciate it. So we're a federation by design. So our members are the state associations like the IHSA and every other state that I kind of alluded to. So they belong to us. We write rules. We have over 100 courses in an online learning center. We run the Officials Association, a Coaches Association. We do 65 meetings a year, national and committees. So really our role is to provide support, resources, advocacy, legislative support when necessary. The states really have to pay attention to state legislature requirements, Department of Ed requirements, and they do vary greatly across the country. So we have to do a careful walk there as a federation to make sure that we don't require a one-size-fits-all kind of approach to how we do high school sports and activities.
She's the CEO of the National Federation of High School Sports. Carissa Nihoff with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. You bring up officials. I feel like that is a pretty hot-button topic for a lot of high school parents hear from of, okay, how many officials are there, the quality of them, et cetera, et cetera. Where are we at kind of state-wise from an official standpoint? I know around COVID, numbers are kind of dwindling a little bit.
Yeah, actually this past year we have all sports that we pay attention to showing an increase. It's slight, but the trend is upward. And there were two sports, field hockey and then water polo, that were down for some reason. But all of the other high school sports are showing an upward trend. We would like to think that our initiatives to correct fan behavior, to educate officials, recruit them, retain them, we're hoping that our initiatives and the work of the IHSAA and supporting those campaigns is making a difference. However, we still see horrible behavior out there and people really not understanding how difficult it is to be an official. When you're in the moment and you have to make a call, you don't have time. And with the right training and just the right attitude, you do your best. But it always breaks our heart to see officials being yelled at or physically abused or things like that because they leave the profession. So we're still working on that.
Carissa, you are much nicer than me. I can say this. I've covered high school sports and now do pro sports, and I can tell all those parents, your kids aren't going pro anyway, so you probably should just relax a little bit.
Absolutely. What people forget is that 97% of our kids in high school will not even play in college. So we've got to remember that what I like to say is that there's been a paradigm shift, and it's not necessarily positive. High school sports have gone from the intent of being formative to now the perception that it's performative. And in losing that shift, we've kind of lost our minds a little bit sometimes. So we have to make sure that our role as parents, our role as coaches, officials, anybody, we appreciate the experience of the high school student athlete. for what it should be. And the officials, they're the other team out there, and they're probably giving up time out of their full-time jobs to come and spend 3 to 4 hours to work a game and really not make a ton of money because they enjoy being around the student athletes and they enjoy the sport and they enjoy the profession. So we have to do a little bit better about how we treat these folks because they're really giving up a lot to be out there on the court and field.
Chris, the last thing for me, too. I know it's been crazy throughout the country with NIL infiltrating a lot of high school sports in, I think, like 40 or more states at this point in time. Now, Indiana still prohibits NIL. But how are you navigating all of that on top of everything else these days?
Yeah. Well, you know what? There are 2 issues for us that are really, really hot right now. The first is actually the transfer situation in high schools. So I just finished 30 days traveling the country to meet with all the states. That is by far the most important issue that is challenging for state associations. NIL is there in pockets. So obviously we have elite athletes at the high school level. They've been identified early. They're perhaps engaging in relationships with collectives or outside groups. Where we're trying to stand firm is that student athletes in high school do not enter into professional contracts while wearing the high school jersey. They own their NIL, no question, and they should, and take advantage of opportunities as long as they're safe, but they don't own the high school jersey. So far, only Florida has kind of crossed the line a little bit with allowing the counties down there to make a decision. We haven't seen it take root yet, but so to your question, how do you navigate this? We're watching, and we're not stiff-arming the idea that kids own their NIL. They do, but we are saying we've got to protect the high school uniform because the community owns that shirt, not the student. So that's kind of where we are right now. We're watching not too much develop, honestly. There's not a ton. And the average is, I think it's like $60. If you have your face on the billboard for the pizza house, I don't know. But we're really not seeing a ton of it except for the handful of really elite high school athletes. And you expect that.
Yeah.
So.
Carissa, thanks for spending some time with us this morning. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Let everybody know a little bit more about what's going on and how it works. Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. Take care.
You bet. That is Carissa Nihoff. And that's, by the way, we're located right here in Indianapolis, as you pointed out, as are many, like the NCAA, and there's a lot of organizations that are based here. It's the National Federation of State High School Associations, and they do make the rules. They do write the rules.
Yes, she is the first female CEO of that federation, which has been around for 103 years. This, according to a press release from 2 years ago, so I guess that'd be 105 years.
I mean, honestly, you think about how many different organizations, sport-wise, are located in Indy, donut counties. Sports Tech HQ partnering with the Indiana Sports Corp has been huge in bringing sport tech businesses specifically to the city of Indianapolis and the state of Indiana as well. I mean, when we say sports capital of the world, it's not just a race in May that draws X amount, 300-some thousand people, or Final Four's this. It's a lot deeper than that.
Yeah, no question about that. We talk about that. Mark, we only have about a minute to go, but I know that you're hot and heavy with some waiver wire ads as we head into the 6th week of fantasy football and the NFL. And
I need so much help, Mark.
Okay.
Everybody needs help at this point in time.
All right, let's go quick. All right. I've mentioned this guy multiple times. Rashid Shaheed from the Saints. He's still available in over 40% of leagues. Racked up 4 catches for 114 yards and a touchdown last week. On the season, he's averaging at least 4 receptions every game and at least 5 targets per game, taking on the Patriots that week. Running back-wise, Rico Dowdle for the Panthers went off in replacement for Chuba Hubbard. Chuba might be back, but they're also playing Rico Dowdle's old team, the Cowboys. And if you don't think he wants to get some revenge this week, you are fooling yourself. Also, another option, Michael Carter from the Cardinals. Amari DiMercato, we all saw what happened at the end zone there, and the season-ending injury to James Conner. Michael Carter could be getting some run there. I know it's a tough matchup with the Colts, but there's an option there. And, of course, Darren Waller, I think the resurgence might be real, folks.
Yeah.
If you need a tight end, maybe stash Darren Waller, available in over 60% of leagues. So there you go.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for the Fan Morning Show. We'll do it again bright and early tomorrow morning at 7. Jake at noon, JMB at 3. Enjoy the day.